Good afternoon. Can you hear me, dear?
I can.
All right, good. We'll wait for the room to populate for a few moments. We'll wait a few moments while I also search for my earbuds
Oh,
and
yes.
put some things in the Jumbotron. Oh, look, Joseph is here. So if you want to go ahead and start inviting folks up that we count on to kind of contribute to the conversation. You can do that. I am going to search for my earbuds. If I don't find them, I think it'll be okay, but I would really prefer having them. And I do have a few things I'm going to put in the Jumbotron. And if you want to, let me say this. Welcome everyone to this Monday's weekly advocacy arena forum conversation. So glad to have you here. Looking forward to some great conversation today. I know I expect that Mark will be joining us. We've already have some questions, some legal updates that we want him to cover for us. I see Joseph is here. I expect Danny to join us to kind of give us an overview of some media and journalism perspectives that are going on with stories. So I think we're going to have a great conversation today. I'm looking forward to it. I am going to turn it over to my fabulous co-host, Soul Sister, while I do a little housekeeping, putting some things in the nest and searching for my earbuds. So welcome everyone, and please, as always, share and retweet the space. Invite more folks into our conversation.
Good afternoon, everyone, and I'm happy to be here today in Advocacy Arena. I know that with all of the other media alternatives to this app, that some people have some people have decided to devote more time there. But as long as we're able to function here, we will be here. Uh, there has been a lot of news. I'm still stuck on affirmative action. There's the Tulsa case being thrown out. There's Mark Robinson, the lieutenant governor from North Carolina, spouting his crazy at the Moms for Liberty summit. There's also, the disbarment of, or potential disbarment of Giuliani, along with several other of the former 45's other lawyers, including Lynn Wood, John Eastman, Jeffrey Clark. So um, we have a lot that we can talk about. Oh, Gregoire, I see you. Hello. And hello, everyone, and welcome to this space.
Yes, thank you for I'm still searching for my earbuds, but I'm putting some things up in the Jumbotron. Some of them are local, but they're making national news. A sad note, but I think one of to be remembered is that the passing of Dr. Catherine Burks Brooks. She was a member of the Freedom Riders in with a Nashville connection, and she died. So I just want to honor our elders. Want to remind people that I interviewed a the mother of one of our community members, Donna, and her mom is awesome. We expect no less, as Donna is awesome. So I'm going to be putting that up in the Jumbotron. I want you guys to listen to it. And she, in fact, is in part why I titled the space with affirmative action today, because we had a great conversation. I don't want to give too much of it away, but the period of time in which she began her work life was in the 1960s, and affirmative action and a lot of our civil rights were just being granted. So she has a very interesting and informative perspective, and I love to hear those kinds of things because, she's someone like Dr. Marshall, and Dr. Marshall wrote a great article about it as well, who have lived lives that they know of before we had certain rights, and after. And then to be here to see, like the benefits of those rights, even though they were still hard fought and, things weren't easy, even after we were given the rights, the fact that we now have people who are seeking to take those rights away. And what is very interesting about Miss Francis, who is Donna's mom, is that she actually worked for Clarence Thomas when he was at the EEOC. So she knew him before the rest of America got to know him, and she knew him well. So, like I said, it's a great interview, a great conversation. So I just encourage you guys to listen to it, to amplify it, and I do plan on having. Another space, a conversation where we can plan for her to be there and really have a great conversation around it. But I did reach out to Donna today to ask her if she was up to it and wanted to join us, that we would certainly welcome her. Because get this, y'all, Miss Francis, like our Dr. Marshall, is on social media. So I just love it, love it, love it. So with that being said, I'm going to turn the mic over to Joseph, and I am going to continue my search for my earbuds and adding things to the Jumbotron. And so, sister, I'll look to you to kind of moderate a little bit because I am going to be distracted.
Okay, well, hello, Ms. D. Hello, Soul Sister. Hello, everyone. Happy Monday. Always nice when I can spend part of my Monday in advocacy arena. And thank you, as usual, for giving me a chance to speak. Um, I guess I want to talk a little bit about just about where I am at today. I am out in the field for my work. I'm visiting one of my branches, and the office that I'm in is in California's 49th congressional district, which was a race that I was pretty heavily invested in last year, and one that I'm going to be heavily invested in again next year. Um, Mike Levin, the current representative, he's done a great job for this district. His district encompasses parts of two counties, so my county, Orange County, and then San Diego County, the coastal portion of northern San Diego County, and he has done a great job for this district. A lot of times I will watch his town halls, and he brings receipts every single time. And as a matter of fact, he was recently named Orange County's most effective member of Congress, and this is at least the second time where he's been named that. And because he has accomplished a lot of bipartisan legislation, and this isn't an easy district. It is technically a Democratic district, but not by much. When he first won the seat in 2018, he flipped it. It used to be a Republican district, and he flipped it, and he has built a coalition in a rather challenging district. So I just wanted to put that out there just for starters. If by chance you do look at various races, California's 49th is definitely a good one to look at, and one that we need to hold next year if we want to take back the House. As far as some of the other things that have gone into the news lately, I mentioned in Carla's and Shauna's space the other day that ever since the Supreme Court decision came down about that sham case of to basically permit anti-LGBT discrimination, I kind of felt like my fire has gone out a little bit. And I'm kind of like, okay, where do we go from here on that? Because I just feel like it.
I understand it.
Yeah, because it was a huge punch in the gut for me, and really, really demoralizing, because like I spend a lot of time on this app, promoting LGBT rights, and feel like now that we've gotten the wind taken out of our sails, it's like, okay, where do we go from here? Because it's like it opens Pandora's box to so many other awful things potentially, because they're not just going to stop with us. They want a license to discriminate basically against almost everybody. Let's face it. So I've kind of felt like in the last week and a half that like I haven't, like I said, my fire's been gone a little bit about with what I've been posting, but like I know it will come back. And as long as this app is functioning, I'm going to use my voice to get the message out there, because I know giving up is not an option at all. Um, I think pretty much everyone that's in this room right now has a lot to lose if we're not successful in our endeavors. So while I'm, temporary, this is a temporary setback, but I'm not going to give up. So I know that my fire will come back eventually, and I hope it comes back sooner rather than later, because I've got a lot of work to do. So other than that, I don't have much else to say. So I will sit back and listen to what everybody else has to say. So thank you, Ms. D. Thank you, Soul Sister, and I will land my plane there.
Thank you so much, Joseph. And I understand what you mean. It was pretty demoralizing for me as well to see rights just being stripped away. And the rhyme and reason is just simply cruelty and oppression. I, too, have been very much feeling some kind of way about it. Like it was really hard to be at a barbecue on July 4th and think about where we're going as a country and how far away we are from actually realizing the dream that should be available to all citizens in this country. And it's tough. So I understand it, and I also agree. We cannot give up, and take a moment to lick our wounds, but figure out a plan and a strategy. So I understand the sentiments and the feelings that you were feeling.
Absolutely.
Uh, wholeheartedly. As my son goes into his junior year, it is disheartening to see uh, what his college opportunities might be because of this, simply because I am his mother, simply because he is who he is and looks as he is and carries the ethnicity that he does. And it is a sad, sad situation. But I do see that we have Gregoire up here, so I'm going to turn it over to
Okay, and
him.
I've found my earbuds, guys. So
Yay!
I can rest and really fully listen. Although I was hearing you, and Joseph, I understand, and I think we all have those moments, which is why we kind of gather here on a regular basis to kind of uplift one another, keep one another encouraged, because you know. The struggle is long, and it is disheartening sometimes when you fight for rights, and you have an opportunity to enjoy them, and then someone snatches them back for no really good reason. It's very disheartening, but it's okay for us to be disheartened, but not give up, and I am there a lot of the times. I have many moments, and this is, as I think Crystal spoke to last week, kind of where I am is a little bit unplugged, like staying aware, because we must stay woke, but keeping up with what's going on, but not too, I guess, emotionally um, plugged into it, because I don't want to have my spirit broken, even though my heart breaks every day to see what's happening to our democracy. But I don't want to just fall into despair. I want the things that are happening to continue to motivate me and others, and not let it immobilize us, because sometimes that's what pain can do, and disappointment can do. So, we're with you, giving you virtual hugs, Joseph, and I am so excited to hear from our friend Gregoire. So glad you could join us today. So, how are you?
Well, hello, Dee. Hello, Soul Sister. Hello, Joseph. Hey, how everybody doing today? So, I just want to start off saying it's been a very eventful week and everything like that. So let's spill the tea. What's on my mind? So, Elon Musk is going through some things since Wednesday night. So the hottest biggest thing that's been happening for the past 5 days was Threads. So I just want to know who signed up for Threads, and if not, what are you waiting for? Threads is the hottest new club that we should be joining. It basically is Twitter 2.0. You can't say that out loud because Elon is still mad because he called Mark Zuckerberg a cluck yesterday. That's the tea, honey, and he wanted to measure his his penis with Mark Zuckerberg as a contest. Yeah, all this is all true. All of this, what I'm
Yeah, I saw that, and it just it not surprising, but it's just heartbreaking that this is where multimillionaires are, how they're behaving and spending their
well,
time.
Mark Zuckerberg is behaving classy, which we talked about. Elon is not behaving; he's misbehaving. But get this: what the real gag is? Um, if you didn't know, Jeff Bezos, the Amazon head, he's also kikiing with Mark on Threads. So I'm like watching this, and they all laughing at Elon, and I'm like, ooh, the shade, the shade, the shade. Yeah, I, I
He deserves every bit of it. I saw that. Yeah.
yeah, so I'm enjoying the drama. So let's see what's going on. What's trending right now on Twitter right now is my the congressman out of New York. As we know, that George Santos has compared himself to being the Rosa Parks of all people, because Mitt Romney told me to stand back in the bus. And I'm not going to stand back. I'm not going to sit back. I'm not. I'm Rosa Parks. First of all, he did that comment ever since Mitt Romney made that statement back in. If you remembered, back in the State of the Union, in State of the Union, he made this comment about Rosa Parks, but somehow this comment has recycled again. So he's trying to be a one hit pony, trying to get sympathy, trying to garner some appeal to him. And he's talking about how Joe Biden is not looking like a mess at not taking care of the border, which we all know about this border politics. It's all nothing but a game. It's just a lot of hot air coming on his end, but there was a lot of breaking news as well. If you didn't know, AOC has endorsed Joe Biden for a second term, which the far left is having meltdowns. Mm.
Well, they need to just get over themselves. And I see, because AOC, she, as I said, at times behaves with sense,
Mm.
pragmatic decision making, which, you must have in a democracy. So,
Oh,
good for
but
her.
good for her on that count. So let's also the next news, because some people accuse me of being long-winded, but I'm not. I always drop the T. But what else is also, yeah, that is shade. Anyway, so
I can always count on you, Gregoire. So, okay,
I
go
know,
ahead.
I know, I know. I just have to. I just had to throw that in because I can't be Gregoire if I can't be throwing shade. Okay, so here goes the next thing is also that's on the plate. Terrence, oh God, I now knowing that I'm through the shade, I'm now forgetting, but no, I'm gonna remember. There's also things that we have to be developing with the Supreme Court. We have to reiterate and state the fact that we need to be on full press of supporting Joe Biden for the next term. Oh yeah, now I remember what I have to say. I'm seeing a little clip in which I am so proud of you guys. While I was all in my laptop building up my thread account over there, I think y'all have been doing the work, and which is the work is y'all been giving the business to Ian Brenner and Eric Bolding about those Kamala tweet. I soon when I saw Ian Brenner turn around and saying like, "What this Kamala talking about?" If anybody who don't know, it's Kamala Harris was at the Essence Fest and she was talking to a group of black women, and somehow the conservatives, Eric Bowling, whatever he called his last name is, I don't care, would say
It's
something.
bowling. Yes, bowling.
Yeah, so I
Bowling.
did say it right. He made a derogatory anti-black tweet about Kamala Harris, and somehow the far left and the center, who are the people who don't want Kamala Harris, were pushing this tweet. And I gotta say, thank goodness that y'all was on board and saw it and cop it and shut it down. Soon when I got involved with Ian Brennan, turned around and sent that derogatory tweet, can somebody translate? Soon when I did a quote tweet on him, guess what happened, D?
What's that?
He deleted it.
So they do recognize and often retreat when they get a little pushback and pressure. So that's good.
Yeah, so this is what
But
I was.
screenshots last forever.
Oh, but of course, because I kept a screenshot and took that. I took it right over there to Threads. Anyway, I just want to say this: moving forward, when it come to Threads or any social apps, do not listen to what they tell you. Say do not engage with these people. That is a false narrative. You need to engage with them. No matter if they're saying, well, you're gonna spread their misinformation. How are you going to counter the misinformation if you have the facts on your side? Do not allow anyone to bully you like Horse Whisperer, or I would name the names. I don't even listen to Horse Whisperer. He's blocked on this app, and coming to see him over there on Threads, it's really like unnerving for me. And also when it comes to bullies like Nina Turner, you got to counter their message because they have no problem saying what they got to say. So you should be doing the same thing too on all social medias. Okay, so when you hear big accounts telling you not to engage, you know what to do. I'm just respecting D's face because I would say like this: nobody should not be tone policing you. If you see something out of sorts and not right, you always counter the message by telling the truth and saying that you got the receipts and you could own it. And I want everybody to do that. Stop listening to everybody else because to me, you once you engage, and then this is a little thing that I want everyone to learn. Once you engage with these accounts that's sending misinformation and propaganda and lies and saying nonsense like this, you get more engagement and you gain more followers. And that's the little trick of the trade. On that note, guys, I'm going to land my plane. I want to say thank you, Dee. Thank you, Soul Sister. I'm glad. Hi, Joseph. You look at you. You talking so well.
Mm.
Uh,
Joseph has been a great contributor, and we've missed
I
you. We're so
know,
glad.
I know. I'm very proud of you. Oh, I'm getting hot in the voice here.
Oh,
Anyway,
stop it. This is a daytime space, Gregoire. I do see that Mark is in here, and I know that he will come up when he has a chance. I'm giving him the mic. Stop. I'm going to mute you. So, but thank you. You brought up some great points for us to be paying attention to. And as far as I'm concerned, people, as long as you're fighting for democracy, everyone needs to fight in the way they feel most comfortable for them, and that would be, the advice that I would add to what you say. So,
I don't want to. I want to know: are you going to be on Threads as well?
no, not yet. Now, I may change my mind, but I don't like Zuckerberg at all. I mean, I have IG and Facebook accounts, but I don't go over there. It's just, we all have those little, kind of personal stands that we take against certain things and people. And he's it for me. Like,
Okay, okay, totally understandable, totally understandable. But I want to say thank you so much. Thank
You
you
know,
so much for doing this every Monday, and same it goes with Soul Sister. I know it's like the timing was always be off with us exchanging the ideals of pushing and talking. But I'm glad I'm able to speak. So I'm gonna land my plane. I have to step away because I have to eat. Okay, because I'm hungry.
okay. Well, I'm glad that you took time out to come in and share. And I know that a lot of people are here often, very supportive of, the conversation, the space that we have, and the work that we do. And I want you to know that I am very humbled and appreciative of it. And even when you're not able to come up and speak, just listening, I know. Makes a difference, and it's important because we all have our lives to lead, and I know that the people who come in here are often out making good trouble, making noise in other ways in other places. And so for that, if we can just be kind of a gathering place for you to come and to feel supported and inspired, to be a source of information for you. I am so happy to play a small part in that. So that is why I try to continue to do this on a regular basis. And as I said before, Allie has come up, and I'm so happy that she did. And I know Mark, when he finds a place in his time, he has planned to come up and address some questions that members of our community have for him around, certain cases and things that are, you know, taking place in the Supreme Court and around the country, other things that we need to be looking at. So I thank you guys again for being here, and I'm so glad that you came up, Allie. Yeah, I had some news stories. I'm not quite as prepared as I wanted to be because, with the extreme weather um, here, we have had a lot of power outages. Like this morning, I had planned to get up really early, kind of getting my stories and everything together. I kind of shared the things that I was looking at with a couple of people that I know always come and speak, so they, would know kind of what I was looking at and thinking about. But I wasn't able to find the stories that I wanted to because my power was out for, most of the morning. And I have some information, but I know that there are enough people in this community that generally these are the things that you're going to be looking at as well. I want to, before I give the mic to Allie, who I'm so happy came here, is to kind of give a rundown. And I will be posting stories and things about this on my timeline as the week goes on. But some of the top things that I'm looking at is Tennessee just reinstated the trans care bill. And at the same time, I know this story is making national news. There was a man who was a soccer coach who just got arrested for, sexually abusing uh, kids. He has lived in this place in Franklin County. It happens to be the county where Marsha Blackburn is from, and so is our governor. So that's up in the jumbotron. So I think again that it's interesting that. And I think we had a minister in another county that they target drag queens and the LGBT community and other people and accuse them, and teachers accuse them of being groomers and this sort of thing. But when the stories of actual abuse happen, and we hear about them, they are not any of those people. So I want to make you aware of that. And like I said, Mark is going to come up and talk to us later today. And I hope he's going to address the Tulsa case ruling, some upcoming Supreme Court cases that could have a huge impact on our democracy, as if they couldn't destroy it any further. Is a Second Amendment case and the tax case. And then also the NATO summit. I need to get kind of plugged into what's going on over there, but I need y'all to be aware that it is happening. It's very important. And also the case with the social media, the government, and stamp prices are going up, which makes me every time I hear something about the postal system and John Lewis stamp is going to be released. But the joy is still the Postmaster General, and that just shouldn't be. But anyway, so I'm just going to drop all of those little gems for you to dig into further. Oh, and Giuliani being disbarred. So yeah, leave it there and let Allie tell us what's on her mind and heart today. So how are you, Allie? I don't know if she can hear me.
I'm coming.
Yeah, I
Hello.
kind of went on there a moment, huh? Didn't
I'm sorry. I was trying to get I got this New York Times article on the NATO summit that I can gift to our timeline. So I was just trying to get that up, but I'll get it up in just a sec. So the news over here is, of course, that President Biden is here for the summit and has been in England this morning. So, but just wanted to say much love to all you guys. It feels like there's so much and so many things that are stirring around, lots of difficult energy, and I just want us all to I just hope we can all just kind of stay as calm as possible, keep our eyes on the prize, and keep going forward together. And as I've said many times, everyone around the world is watching and hoping that we will continue to do well. And this administration is just so well received overseas. It's like night and day. The coverage is just astounding to me. It's so quiet, seen as just like dignified, extremely well working in the face of all that came before with the previous administration, very reassured in the international community by most of the moves that the Biden-Harris administration have been making on the world scene, and also a feeling of confidence that they will be continuing to do a very good job with national concerns, even despite the context and these latest Supreme Court rulings and that type of thing. So if that's of any consolation, there is a very positive response, and I've talked with some friends in Latin America this morning also, and also a bit overseas in the Asian area. And again, people are so pleased with this administration given what was left by Trump, and the Supreme Court rulings. People are aware of that, the implications of them. It's very interesting because if you look at a country like France, homosexuality was proved as legal back 1776 or something. I mean, the idea that the United States would still be addressing these issues with the ridiculous religious orientation and fake religious orientation that they are, is just seen as kind of hard to understand. But whatever it is, they're pleased with how this administration is working on it. So everyone is
Well,
rooting for us to remain stable and to keep going forward. So
that's great to hear. And I always look to you to kind of give us the perspective that, geopolitical, perspective of how we are viewed. I mean, because it does matter. Our alliances with other countries is important. And I hope you don't go anywhere, Allie. I'm glad you joined us, but Mark has carved out some time for us today. And I have kind of given him some questions that folks wanted answered, and I'm going to yield the mic to him and give him a little time. And certainly we'll be happy to come back to you if you will just yield to him at this time so we can let him make us smarter about these legal cases that are proliferating. So, Mark, you have the floor. So glad you've joined us.
Hey D, happy Monday, everybody. Soul Sister, always a pleasure. Always a pleasure to join Advocacy Arena. I love the dialogue. I love the elevated discourse and the robust debate that we bring to the table. And I see Tiff in the room. I see Carol. I see, oh my God, I see everybody. Oh my goodness, look at all these people. Joseph, I see Joseph. Man, like we've been really busy over the last couple of weeks, but I do appreciate your questions. They were pretty good. So just to cover, these are cases that I was reading about just like everybody else, but I might have a little bit of background with regard to the legal issues, the Tulsa massacre case that got dismissed, and the Biden administration with social media. I talked about that. I think on Carol's space, but I didn't talk about it in the Advocacy Arena. So everybody was on there, but both are worthy of talking about here. So on the Tulsa case, it's one of those heartbreaking cases, right? And it's the 1921 Tulsa massacre where there was a neighborhood in Tulsa, Oklahoma it was Black Wall Street, basically. And because blacks were doing so well, white folks decided that wasn't allowed in America. And as we look at Tulsa, I think we need to contextualize Tulsa into the broader debate and think about cases that are coming about now with regard to affirmative action and all these things, because 1921 was only 102 years ago. James Meredith entering University of Mississippi was only 60 years ago. So we're talking about one generation of Black family from Tulsa. We're talking about one generation. Maybe two sometimes, but like for the most part, one generation. My grandparents were certainly around in the 1920s. So as we think about Tulsa, we have to think about these things. So these were like the last remaining survivors of the Tulsa massacre that actually lost something in the massacre. They lost their families maybe, and they lost property, and also lost wealth. And that's something that that needs to be discussed more. And Ketanji Brown Jackson, and I know you guys are like, oh, here he goes with Ketanji Brown Jackson again. But it's important that you look at her dissent, which thankfully Justice Sotomayor did the legal lifting so that KBJ could really break this down. And when we look at the Tulsa massacre and how the case was dismissed this week, you got to read that dissent by KBJ. And I told you last week that their dissents work together. They're not separate and apart. They work together because it was important what KBJ was saying. What she was saying was that look at the different statuses generationally between whites and blacks in America. That's why we need affirmative action. You want to pretend everything's equal right now, but 2 generations ago, things were so unequal that people that look like us, like me, weren't even allowed to even have the status that you had, right? 2 generations, 50 years, 100 years ago. People that look like me weren't even allowed to go to the same school as you. And now you're saying everything's great. We're like post-racial. We are colorblind. That's not the case. So we look at the 1921 case. So immediately, because it was over 100 years ago, and they filed the case in 2020, the case was initially about to be dismissed because of statute of limitations. There was some limited damages that were given to some folks, but not all folks. All folks weren't compensated for the loss. That loss of generational wealth that was established there, and the wealth that was garnered by people that took those spots, because Tulsa now does not look like Tulsa back then, right? Just like Katrina now doesn't look New Orleans doesn't look like prior Katrina then. There's a lot of gentrification that goes on. And gentrification doesn't mean it's all bad. It just means that people that lived there for a while can't live there anymore, and new people move in, and all of a sudden Starbucks comes in. So statute of limitations was a problem with that case from the get-go. So they couldn't just file a regular case to make this happen because of statute of limitations. So and also there's other things like sovereign immunity, standing. Some of the plaintiffs had to drop off their standing. Lack of evidence was a problem too. Given the amount of time that had passed since the massacre, it was difficult for the plaintiffs to gather sufficient evidence to prove their claims. But then always reaping around, despite their first claim, there was the political questions doctrine. So in law, in judiciary, and I'm speaking purely in law, right? I'm speaking in law in this bubble. I'm not speaking as real life Mark. I'm speaking as adjunct professor Mark. That's what's called a political question doctrine. Why we're not going to win reparations in the courts? It's because it's in constitutional law. The courts will avoid deciding certain cases that they deem to be inappropriate for judicial review, meaning they want that to be decided by the executive and legislative branches. Things like reparations and things like damages caused by lingering discrimination that is going on from something that happened even 100 years ago. So if a lawsuit involves broad questions about systemic racism or the government's role in perpetuating it, the defendant's going to argue, defendants being the government or any government entity, that these are political questions that aren't suitable for the resolution by the courts. That's what's supposed to happen. That is in law, right? So what the attorneys for the plaintiffs in this case did, they saw that there was a public nuisance claim that was won by the Attorney General of Oklahoma regarding opioid addiction, and that how because of the companies, the pharmaceutical companies that were proliferating opioids, it presented a lingering problem from 20 years ago. The problem is still happening now. So kind of creatively, which I love, and I want to emphasize that even though this is seen as they failed to bring this case to trial, it was remarkable legal work by these attorneys, and they should be commended to the utmost because they creatively got this case to this point where it could not go any further legally. So the public nuisance means that it's traditionally used to address new situations where activities or conditions infringe upon public rights or cause inconvenience or damage that keep on happening. So for instance, a factory that's releasing toxic fumes causing health issues for people, and they stop doing it, but the health issues continue, right? So you see where I'm going. Things continue to happen. In this context, the lawsuit was seeking reparations for the Tulsa race massacre. The plaintiffs were arguing that these actions that constituted the massacre, they were arguing that the harmful condition to African Americans was still infringing upon their rights and causing physical and economic damages now. It's a difficult argument, and one that they wanted to get to with evidence. They have to, but they were trying to get to a certain point where they can show the effects that of the massacre, and that they were ongoing, that because of the systemic racism and economic disadvantages caused by the massacre, that they continue to harm today. They were arguing that the public nuisance is continuing, and the judge last year, the same judge, allowed them to develop their case, which is all that could be asked for from a judge. But at this point, and it's an innovative use of public nuisance law, and it was a very difficult and the only avenue available to the Tulsa massacre victims. And so I applaud these attorneys for thinking outside the box, and sometimes sometimes a win is not necessarily a win. It establishes a not I don't want to say a precedent, but establishes like hey, so this is a direction that we can go. Because I'm gonna tell you this right now, reparations aren't going to be just given to us, and I think these attorneys are ahead of the game when it comes to public nuisance. Like Republicans want to go after fentanyl makers, they want to go after China, they want to stop trade with China. Well, Nikki Haley wants to stop trade with China because of fentanyl overdoses. These are avenues that these young scholars that they developed and tried to bring a case to bring recompense to the Tulsa victims, and they just ran up against the law. And we cannot say that the law is wrong. I feel for the victims sincerely. I cannot say that the law wasn't followed. I cannot say that the injustice is that they weren't compensated with reparations for their loss. And a lot of this had to do with a lot of shenanigans that happened after the 1921 rise. What the statute said was the statute of limitations to bring an action. They missed time. They were
Right.
misled, missed time, didn't have proper representation. And so there's a lot of factors that happen here. And this is the last ditch effort. Now there's still an appeal that's
Right.
available.
Well, I
There's still
thought
an,
that it was dismissed in such a way that it couldn't be brought again. I don't know the legal terminology.
it was dismissed with prejudice, meaning they cannot bring the case again. They can still
I
appeal the
Okay,
dismissal
got you.
though.
Okay. All right.
Um,
So
so that
I was
Go
going
ahead.
to say, I love that you said, just using the law in creative ways. And sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. But it's also a reminder that, we were able to use the law to gain a lot of our rights, but it is not just the law alone. That is what helps, codify them and solidify them. But, there are many ways to bring about change. So I appreciate that you addressed it in the manner that you did, because and also speaking to the restorative measures, and what they can look like, and ways in which they miss, because we know that the families there, many all over this country, need to be compensated, reparations. But what that looks like and how that looks is up for a lot of debate. In fact, I was just reading a story about women in North Carolina, I think it is, who land was trying to be taken away from her, and Tyler Perry and some other celebrities kind of put a lot of money into a GoFundMe to help her, keep her land. And it just reminds me of how all over this country, in so many ways, our rights and our property have been taken. Like, and we fight to get them back, and then they find creative ways of snatching, some of that back. And it also makes me go ahead.
And that's a great point you just made, and that's even it's happening right now. We don't have to go back into nostalgia to find it out. It's happening with Black farmers.
That was good. Boy, you
With
and I, man, we are always so. That's exactly what I was bringing up next. Go ahead, Mark.
No, well, it's something that's big to me because farming is in my family. And my family owned a lot of land in Louisiana, and barely anything now. But farming has been a part of our culture The food that we make, we grew. My late grandmother, she grew her own zucchini, grew her own vegetables. She called them legumes. I think that was so cute. She called them legumes. She's from Louisiana, little Creole girl.
That's
Legumes.
awesome.
She
I'm
grew
I'm
her
eating squash from my
her own
dad's
food. Yeah,
garden as we speak.
squash. Yes, 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 yes. Squash, zucchini. She made zucchini bread. By the way, that zucchini bread is just bomb. I mean, it's amazing. But these are all good memories for me. Now, I didn't know that the history goes back. Well, the farming is a big part of what was a big part of African American culture because they couldn't go to the store and buy nothing. Nobody would sell them any food, so they, black folks needed to depend on themselves. A lot of other folks needed to too, but particularly black folks needed to farm their own food and buy from their own people. And that's how farmers markets started happening because they happened in the black community where black farmers would come to the city and sell food to people that weren't able to go to the supermarket to shop. That's
Yeah.
how. I mean, if you think
And
about
speak and
gumbo, right? You think about
yes,
the
speaking of black farmers and the farmers mart, the little hometown that I grew up in is the site of the world's oldest African American agricultural fair. And this was like an annual event held around harvest time. And in part, yes, it was a place to go and gather, commune, have some entertainment, but it was also a time for those farmers to be able to sell their produce, to one another, for them to support one another. So,
and how we tie all this together when we talk about black farmers and the cases that were heard over the weekend, we bring it back into how the case was decided in a colorblind fashion with regard to equal protection. Well, the black farmers can't even bring that. They would be denied in the Supreme Court because even though they're really being discriminated against because they weren't given the same relief that the other farmers were, the Supreme Court would say, well, we can't just cut a segment out for you because that would be against the 14th Amendment when it's actually not, right? It's the mistake of the court and of America to forget that the 14th Amendment was made specifically for a certain group of people. I mean, we cannot escape. We cannot just pretend that doesn't exist. We can't, like Ketanji Brown said, you can pretend to be colorblind in law, but you can't pretend to be
I mean,
colorblind in
it
real
just
life.
isn't so. I mean, because we live with these things, and as you said, you can say it, but we know that life it is very different, and people who are black and brown and of other demographics, they know it. you know
Absolutely, and I'll come back and talk about the Biden stuff. Please let some other people speak, and just to save some time. Can't wait to hear Tiff. I hope she comes up. Can't wait to hear Joseph and Allie. Keep on going, talking about Biden in Europe. I love to hear about that and how they're. I heard he's very popular over there, unbeknownst to
and
Americans.
right, and so is the vice president. Allie has come back up, and I hope Tip does too. I'm not sure if she's working or not, but I do hope that she is able to come up and join us in conversation. You two down there, Black Stem, because she posed some great questions for you, and something that I wanted to kind of talk about. And Danny, I mentioned it earlier, and hopefully she will come in, but anyone else is free to speak to it. The crazy story that, Maureen Dowd ran on President Biden, his grandchild, and then I don't even know who ran the crazy story on the sneaker thing, and how that like is even news. Like, that's getting more attention than than the NATO summit, and that's a shame. So, Allie is. Oh, I think she's having connection problems because she's coming up and she's dropping. But Joseph is back up, and you're free to comment on anything that Mark has shared, or anyone else for that matter, or something new.
Yeah, well, obviously, I always love when Mark presents because it's just a wealth of information about all the legal aspects of things that we're facing in this country right now. Um, so it's always so wonderfully informative to listen to what he has to say. And yeah, Mark, I am definitely keeping a close eye on any cases related to LGBT rights in particular, and how we're moving forward after this horrible Supreme Court decision. Yeah.
Joseph,
Yes.
let me make one point before you get into the meat. You're right. You hit the nail on the head, which I want people to really understand is that it's we have to look at how how these cases are coming down with LGBTQ, and the language they're using is very important because it's language that's going to be used again and again and again. I cannot emphasize that enough. We're seeing it over and over. So I'm glad you brought that up.
Yeah, because
Great.
go ahead, Joseph. Yes.
Oh no, I was just gonna say just thank you, Mark, for that. Um, I just real quick, Ms. D, to your point about what the how some in the press were making a big deal about the president's shoes, and I said that's just absolutely ridiculous. All the more important things that they can be talking about, the fact that he is in Europe right now for an important NATO summit, and the fact that they want to talk about his shoes. I mean, it's just the media has become a joke. It has become an absolute joke. They're not reporting on the important things that he's doing. They're not reporting on the important things the vice president is doing, and they're doing a huge disservice to the public at large that, say for example, is not on social media. I'll give you a prime example. My parents are not on social media. They are both in their 70s, and a lot of times my mom will ask me about stuff about, say for example, what the vice president is doing, because I fill her in on things that I learn, I hear on the timeline with everybody. And when she went to Africa, my mom told me that, she says, I really wanted to find out about the vice president's trip. She said, but I hardly saw anything on the news about it. Like they watch MSNBC a little bit. I think they have fortunately stopped watching CNN. But as we know, like the major networks, like they don't, they hardly talk anything about in depth about what the president and vice president are doing. Um, and that's going to be a big challenge for us going into this next election cycle, is because we have a huge chunk of our country that is grossly uninformed about what the president and vice president have accomplished. And I think the more, they say, the more and I think these people were better informed, then I think really it should be, on paper it should be a landslide for the president and vice president to get reelected because of everything that they've accomplished. But I think the media is deliberately withholding
Um,
this information.
You think? I mean, I do feel like it's the same battle that we have been fighting for quite some time, and they are showing that they have learned nothing, and in some ways, maybe they have learned, they know, so they're sticking with what they know because I think some of them don't want the president to be reelected because many of the actual owners of these media companies would be in better positions with, they think, with President Biden, who wants to regulate and tax and do some things. But I don't think that they fully understand that the guy who, gave them such great tax breaks and everything, I mean, he has gone fully up. I mean, not that he wasn't already crazy, but listen to him lately. I mean, he is talking total retribution. When this guy gets in office, I mean, toward the end, he was getting rid of people. He was making positions temporary and changing staff or whatever. Do you not think, until he ended up with the very worst, do you not think at this time around, if that happened, he would not begin with the very worst. He would be shutting down media companies. He would be getting rid of departments that would be able to have any kind of checks and balances, because they're saying the quiet parts out loud. Like last year, we talked about their behavior being very fascistic and nationalism and white supremacy. Now they're just they are saying they are admitting it. They are boasting about it, like Moms for Liberty. They are like kind of daring people to come after them because, we have called them out for what they are. And they are kind of like, threatening folks like, don't do this and don't say this about us, because they have a lot of powerful people with a lot of money behind them.
Saying
So,
it. Rick Scott is not
yeah.
even hiding it. It's literally Nazi propaganda. It's the communists and socialists are not welcome in Florida. That's literally from the Nazi Joseph Goebbels playbook. I mean, you can actually find parallels between the messaging on the early rise of the
So
Nazis, which actually I've taken an interest in that, and I started like looking at more documentaries and reading more. The Republican Party is really echoing
they
the
are
messaging that's coming from the
They are
Nazis.
so similar. They're not even hiding it. And I'm glad that you said that, Marcus. I hope that other people start to do it too, because, I know that when I talked about it like over a year ago, I seemed like, I was just being, like extreme but I wasn't. Sometimes I wondered myself, but then I realized, no, you know what you're talking about. You saw this. I lived in Germany for 10 years. I have German friends. They have told me family stories. I worked with a gentleman whose family, because I was in Germany before the wall came down. I visited East Berlin when it was still a communist country. I was there when the wall came down. I worked with a gentleman who had to have special time, special permissions to go visit his family in East Berlin, and things that he would take for them. They were basic kinds of things that weren't available to them. And these people who are wishing and trying to welcome authoritarianism are out of their freaking mind, because like they may think that it's going to be good for them, because they're telling them that it's going to be. But again, I refer you to the poem or the quote from Martin Niemöller. Everybody thinks they're going to be safe in the beginning until they're not. So again, it's why we talk about standing up and speaking up for everyone's rights, because the moment that you don't, and you allow other people's rights to be taken away, eventually they get to you. So, and with that, I'm going to step off my soapbox, and I see our lovely Tiff has joined us, and I can't wait to hear from Candidly Tiff. So, how are you today?
Oh, I'm chilling.
Okay.
I have nothing political to talk about today.
That's
I am
fine. I
so
told
serious.
Soul Sister like this was going to be like kind of whatever, just, good conversation, because I know that we have enough voices in here to do that. And I think that it's beneficial, and helpful at times. So whatever you want to discuss, my dear, we're open.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just laughing at Elmo because obviously I can't say his name because he probably shut down the
Yes,
stage.
yes, please be protective of our opportunity to have voice and
Oh my
conversation
gosh,
here.
I'm just laughing at that fool.
Was that not the
Obviously,
most ridiculous? I mean, like childish. I mean, just
I mean, the man is seriously childish. I mean, there's no ifs, ands, or buts about the fact that he is childish. So it's not a surprise in any way, shape, or form how he acts. We've known this for what, I don't know, months now, that this is the way he is, and so he's using this platform as his like way to communicate with people. Because if you look at, I don't follow him. I don't pay him any mind. I can't stand him. But I have been been catching all the tea by going to his account to look at his responses. He does not tweet stuff, but he does respond to people. And it's like the weirdest accounts that he responds to. And so that's where all of the craziness has been coming from, of him responding to people. You know, he wants to get a tape measure, he wants to do this. It's like so absurd at this point. And like I said, it's extremely childish. But this is what happens when you're a white male with a ton of money and don't know what the hell to do with it. He could literally be saving the world like Bill Gates or someone
Yeah,
else,
and
you
like
know.
your rights, when you don't have to worry about your rights being taken away.
Yeah.
You
What
can
does he
be.
have? What does he really? I mean, he has to worry about he has like 10 kids. I mean, he has like a whole lot going on. So he needs to go focus on that. It actually is kind of funny because I thought it was hilarious that we are now seeing, I don't even know if it's really Zuckerberg's like actual, like he's actually the one like threading, but it is kind of funny to see him actually interact with people. And because I always think of him as like a cyborg, like he's like a
Yeah,
full
just kind of
robot.
just watch, and every
Yeah,
now and
and
then he
he's
speaks.
yeah, and I'm like, oh, this dude might actually have like a personality. Like, where did this come from? Like, I don't even know who this guy is. I mean, listen, he's not one of my favorite people in the world. I don't even really like him. But I will say that I never left Facebook. I just always kept it because of my family. Like they still, all my older family, they love Facebook. They still post there. My grandmother posts there, my aunts, my cousins. So that's a place that is personal to me, with only a select few of people that I have allowed into that
And
realm
that's
of
me, and
Facebook.
I'm not even active there. I just keep it open and.
Yeah, I go.
Mhm.
Yeah, I go once in the blue moon. Like if I get a notification, like this morning, I got a notification that my grandmother posted, and usually she's on there cursing out Trump. Like that is literally what she
I
does.
love
She just
your
goes,
grandmother.
she curses out DeSantis. Like she posts articles, and she just so basically the way we're using Twitter, she uses it. She uses Facebook like that, where she posts articles, and then she tells people. She talks to herself, and she tells DeSantis and
She
Abbott and
just
all
gives
these
them a
people
piece of
off.
her mind, huh? I
Yeah,
love
and my
it.
grandma. Okay, and my grandmother is not a great writer. I mean, she literally has an eighth grade education. So so she's like, it's like all like the wording is all jacked up, but you can make out what she's saying, and she's
But
like, "F this person and that person," and I'm just like, "Okay, grandma, now I see where I get it from because that's what she does." But yeah, the rest of my family just posts pictures and things like that. And then the same with Instagram. I have a personal Instagram that I use just for my family. Then of course I have my political Instagram that I had, which is connected to my threads. So that's what I'm using to be able to communicate. And honestly, it's been nice over there. It's been kind of calm and quiet. I don't know how long it's gonna last, but it has been refreshing to not have to deal with kind of the chaos that occurs on this app. We have become so used to arguing with people
that
and having dialogue that requires like a true like argumentative back and forth, that it's kind of, I think, just in retrospect, just thinking about all the time that we've spent on this app, and I have spent pretty much every day for the last let's see, 4 years on this app arguing with people. And when I think about it, this last weekend, I'm like, what was the point? Like I get it. Like, I mean, I'm proud of the work that we've done, to fundraise, help candidates, obviously defend VP, talk about the Biden administration's work, judges, all kinds of stuff. Like there are positives, but I am done with arguing with people. Like I have
the
had
the
enough
energy that
argument.
it requires, and what I'm glad that you said that, Tiff, because I'm on some other apps and stuff, and those of you who know me know where I am. But it is nice to be able to conversate with people and not have to have an argument and fight back and forth. I mean, even if you don't agree. Like I was actually in a space with some people, some libertarians, some people who didn't know what the heck they were talking about politically, and we were disagreeing, but we weren't, calling each other names. We just had healthy conversation. And I miss that. And being on this app a lot, it almost made you think that you can't have those conversations, aren't possible, but they are.
Yeah, no, most definitely they are possible, and it's like I said, we're always on 10. Somebody tried to come to me yesterday, and you know what I did? I just blocked them. I'm like, you know what? I'm not even gonna argue with you. Like you can just argue with yourself because I really don't care what you're thinking or what you're saying at this point. So you can just be mad. So yeah, I mean, we sometimes we just get so caught up in what we are into that we never really think about. I'm on Instagram. I've been on Instagram free and TikTok too, right? TikTok, I have a different approach to
Right. It's a
TikTok because
different
usually
kind of app.
yeah, I will post stuff on TikTok and I do not care about it. I just post it and run. Like I will post it today and like I posted on Friday and I haven't been back to TikTok since. I'll just post and then let the people argue in the comments. Like and literally they do.
Oh, that's
They just argue in the
hilarious.
comments, go back and forth. And sometimes I'll go back and I'll like, there's good comments in there. Like a week later I'll go and post one time I posted a video and I didn't even know it went viral. Like I didn't I don't have notifications set up. I don't even care about it. And I don't really go in there to scroll. Like IG, I'll probably go in there like once on my political account, I'll go in there like once a day and look through the reels and spend 20 minutes looking at dogs and people doing nails or whatever the
Right,
hell it is
because
that I enjoy.
we are multi-dimensional people, and sometimes we just kind of like it's like a scratched record over here. So, we just
Yeah, it most definitely is, and it's draining, right? It is draining to your energy, and it's draining to your soul to have to repeat the same things over and over again. And
and
so,
likely,
and
what I've come to realize, Tiff, and I'm sorry for interrupting.
no, it's okay,
And
it's okay.
because I like this kind of back and forth with us, oftentimes. And if anyone else wants to come up and join us in the conversation, that's kind of how I'm feeling today. Just let us just have some conversation. But what I am finding is like you spend all this time going back with people, and no one's mind is changed. You know,
Right. Exactly. It's like how many people's minds did I really change over? I can change people's mind in a positive way. So if you're willing to listen, like with Westmore, like a lot of people didn't know who Westmore was when he first came on the scene. I had conversations with people like, yeah, I think this guy is the real deal. I really believe that he's going to be a great candidate. I met him and was telling folks about him. So in that way, I can see where you can, and I think we talked about this on your podcast too, right? Where you can make a difference on this app in terms of advocacy for people. But when you have the negative people who you're trying to argue down, I don't really think you're making a difference with those people because they're pretty much ignorant and they don't really care about trying to get to. Now there are people you can have a conversation with and you can kind of you make your point, they make their point, and you kind of just
agree to
you can
disagree.
either agree to disagree. Exactly, you agree to disagree and you walk away and you keep it moving. We're not always going to agree on everything, but the people that we spend so much time trying to argue with, they're never going to change their mind, never ever ever. And it's such a waste of time in my opinion to have those conversations. I would much prefer to do advocacy in a way where you're trying to convince people who have an open mind. You're not going to convince some hotep or some bigot that that gay people are great people. They already have their mind made up. The same with the transphobes, the same with the misogynists. These people have their mind made up about how they feel, and that's why they're bigots. They're not going to change their mind. Their opinion has already been formed based on some bias, and it's like, okay, just leave me alone. I don't feel like arguing with you about any of this stuff anymore. So I think the threads experience is giving me a different perspective on how I want to approach Twitter and how much time I have spent on Twitter, because I was looking at my screen time. I was spending like 13 hours a day on
Right.
Twitter.
I
Like that's not a productive thing, especially if 10 of those hours are spent arguing with people. I mean, of course, I love all the people that I've met on this app. I mean, there's so many people that I have met through this app that I absolutely adore and have become some of my best friends as a result. And so for that, I love that aspect of Twitter. But I
same.
feel like,
Hmm.
okay, is this really productive in our lives? And of course, spaces, spaces has its good, it has its bad. Yours is always phenomenal with, and like Mark said, we always get good information. But if we're arguing on spaces, what does that really accomplish? It doesn't accomplish anything. So I think we just need to like take a step back and figure out like how do we approach 2024? So let's talk about politics in that way. How do we approach 2024 to really make a difference? Because arguing with people isn't really going to make a difference. That's not going to change someone's mind. If you are anti-Biden, you are going to stay anti-Biden. And me telling you, if you're anti Kamala and you believe that she's a cop and she put all these people away, and she all the lies, it's just
And
lies
all they
upon
do
lies.
is look for more evidence to support their belief.
Right. It's the conspiracy theories will continue. And so the goal, and we've talked about this many times, is how do we bring more people into the fold to be able to not convince them, but make them see that Biden and maybe the people that are just apathetic. Like there's a lot of people, what I've noticed on threads is there's a lot of people who are not there to talk about politics, right? But it doesn't mean that when you are putting things out there, like even on my IG, there's people that follow me but don't necessarily, especially on my personal account, that don't necessarily care about politics. But there are times when I post stuff that is about politics that they're like, oh, this is cool, like that's awesome, like they will have commentary. And so while people may not be 100% into politics like we are actual political junkies.
Exactly. And there
there
are
are
very
people
few of
there are
us.
people that are still, yeah, there are people who still understand the importance of voting but may not be getting that information from the right sources, or may not be just watching the news or paying attention to the news to understand what's going on. So I think
Yeah.
I think I think we have to figure out a way to be able to talk to people in a different way. And maybe that's what Threads is going to be for. It's not necessarily to argue or to fight. It's more so a way to just communicate about politics, but not necessarily be like super aggressive
Right.
with it, because we are very
Yes,
aggressive
and
with it.
but
That's
and I
perfect.
I am so
Go ahead.
glad. Yes, and I'm going to give you an opportunity, and I love this conversation tip, and that realization that you have come to, because that's where I am. But Twitter was kind of designed that way, and Elon wants to. Well, I won't say that it was designed that way, but it became that way. And when it was starting to be cleaned up, in a sense, he took over because I think that he could see how effective we were being and that we could be. So tried to disrupt that. And the way to disrupt that is all with the crazy, the extremists, and have us spending our energy there. And really not focusing on the issues and things that are really, really important, where we can make a difference and where we can actually know about what's going on. Because if you're busy fighting and you can put so much energy into it, and things are happening, like people may not be aware of deadlines to vote, or that certain amendments and things are on their ballot, and they know about the fight. Elon talking about measuring his parts and all, because that's what's trending. So I love the idea of rethinking our engagement, and every platform I think is going to have a little different flavor on them, and I think that's good. And I feel like wherever we are, those of us who are like political junkies, who are warriors for democracy, who understand what's at stake, we are going to gravitate and find one another, and our voices will build and come together wherever we are. I just believe that. um, so go ahead, Tip. I'm sorry. And then after you, Joseph, you just
I'm,
brought up so many
yeah, I'm good.
wonderful things.
No, don't worry. Yeah, I want to hear what Soul Sister had to say.
Yes, I'm sorry.
Oh, oh no, that's fine. I was just going to amen on on what you both said, and it has been something that's really been weighing on me, and I've had some conversations with close friends about this lately as well, and I realized that I am not the person to be able to carry on a long argument with people, and I appreciate those who can, but that's just not where I am in it. So I believe that there are enough people who can, and maybe they don't change somebody's mind, but maybe they change somebody else's mind who is watching that thread. That's not where I am, and that's not how I feel. So I agree with you, Tiff. What I'm most concerned about is reaching um, those who have voter apathy, those who continue to sit out because they don't think it's going to make a difference, and they don't think it matters, and they think those are the ones that I want to figure out how we reach and how we get them to engage. And so I'm glad to hear that I'm not the only one that's feeling like this lately, within our community, because it with enough battles going on legislatively and through SCOTUS, it just feels like an uphill battle. So you're trying to search, or at least I am trying to search for a way that I can feel like I'm truly making a difference, and not having the a campaign, or an election happening right at this moment. You're kind of floundering and wondering how you can make a difference during this lag time. And I agree. I think it's understanding and realizing how you can really make a difference in a different way, because when you're arguing, and when you're just doing that back and forth, it's not even that you're might not be making a difference, is that you're neglecting the opportunity to strategize about other real, tangible, and I hate that word, but tangible ways where you can truly increase our presence at the voting booth, and that's where I think we need to be expending most of our energy. So I, if that's what it took, if it took these other opportunities to bring that type of awareness, then I'm really happy about that. So I look forward to seeing what we can do and where we end up at the end of this, after the 2024 election. So I that's all I wanted to say.
Okay, I agree. And we have Joseph and Allie with their hand up, and I'm going to go in that order. I know Allie is having some connectivity issues. I hope she's able to remain stable. And if not, just go out, come back, and we'll keep attempting to bring you up. But I am loving the conversation that we're having today, and think it's important, and I want to keep it going. So Joseph, and then Allie.
Thanks, Ms. D. The reason I came back up because both you and Tiff brought up some good points about the different platforms and how we want to reach people and things like that. Like you, I am maybe a little bit reluctant to sign up for Threads because I'm not that crazy about Zuck myself. My Facebook is pretty much a ghost town these days, and then I'm on IG, but I had to turn my account private because I was just getting spammed right and left. And so it's like when I first signed up for IG during my unplanned absence from this site last year, um, it really limited me because I couldn't reach as many people as I wanted to on this site, and I signed up for a couple of other ones in the interim, but it just wasn't the same. Um, I don't even have people that have like come into my mentions that I can even have like a constructive discussion with. I mean, there is so many times, especially when it has come to LGBT rights, people have just come into my mentions with extremely just like bad faith arguments, or they want to come in with the slurs. I mean, if you come at me with a bad faith argument, I'm just not even going to attempt it. I'm just going to block, because that's I'm not going to waste my time arguing with people who, like Tiff said, we're not going to be able to change their minds anyway. So I I was told last year that, by some of my people that follow me locally, that I was making an impact on, on some of our local politics. And like my view is, like, I just tweet and let the chips fall where they may. And hopefully of course, as you know, my local politics are very important to me, so hopefully I'm reaching somebody out there that, that I haven't seen before, or whatever, that, that's why I try to use the hashtags for the congressional district. So hopefully somebody will see something related to their district, and it will get them thinking. But to both your points, yes, this site can be exhausting sometimes. I mean, there, kind of like what Tiff said, there sometimes I look at how much time I spend on here, and not all of it is constructive. And so I've, have kind of retold, I'm sorry, not retold, retooled, my approach. And sometimes I do want to post something that's, a little bit more lighthearted, a little bit random, but it just seems like with everything that's going on these days, it feels like political news dominates it. And then I kind of feel like I have an obligation to inform, but also, I do enjoy posting more lighthearted things. Like, for example, when I was on vacation last month, just different things about my vacation, or just random food stuff. And because I want to show that I'm more that I'm not just one dimensional, just about
And
politics.
I think that you should, and I have tried to do that. That's one of the reasons why I post my Good Morning Nature pic, and I am going to be posting, some other things too, because I think that humanizes us, and we can be we can bring our authentic selves to our Twitter timeline. We can still address political issues and still be who we are. And I actually think that we may have more of an impact when people see those other aspects of us. That's just my personal opinion, because I'm able to have conversations about politics with people who I don't agree with, one, by connecting with them in the areas that we have commonality. And some of it is geeky, techy stuff. And then inevitably, they know I'm a political junkie. They will ask me a political question, and then we get into a political conversation, but we still have respect for one another. And sometimes, they are actually, their minds are changed because they have been informed, they were unaware. So I think, what Tip was saying too, it's about kind of meeting people where they are. I know that often Tiff post like positivity quotes. I love those. I used to do a lot of those. And again, like I said, I think we lose nothing by being our authentic selves. And so I would encourage you to do that, because I loved your food pics, and I'm a bit of a foodie too, and I like bath products and homemade things, art, and I know Allie is into art. So I say we bring all of ourselves to our timeline. So anyway, I'm gonna let you finish, and then Allie, and then back to Tiff.
Well, that was gonna say, no, you tied it up really, really well. I know. I just, again, just wanted to say that, both you and Tiff brought up some really great points, and so it got me thinking about that. But you're right. You just, I want to bring my, what I've have tried to convey to all of my followers is that basically what you see is what you get with me. As we know, there are some large accounts, very large accounts on this timeline that they aren't as authentic. I see so many, and I'm sure we all have seen some of these accounts where people are just like fishing for engagement, and that's not me. I'm all about, like I said, will tweet and just let the chips fall where they may. I'm going to say my piece and just let it go from there. I have had some tweets go viral that I didn't expect go viral, and then there's other tweets that I had hoped would get a lot of exposure that didn't. But that's just the randomness of this site. But like I said, I give you my word that with me, what you see is what you get. So I will land my plane there.
Thank you so much, Joseph. You're next, Allie. And then Tip.
Yeah, Tiff, did you want to respond to what you guys were talking about? Because I just wanted to bring it back a little bit to some of the international coverage. Did you
Yeah.
want to? Go ahead.
Yeah,
Go
I
right
want to
ahead. I'll
respond
come
back to
after you.
Joseph.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I was going to say to Joseph, I understand the reluctance to want to join threads. And trust me, I can't stand Mark Zuckerberg. And I will say, though, being on IG, I really never had an issue. So I'm sad that you actually were spammed on there because I've never had anyone even, I mean, sometimes I would see random posts or whatever, but for the most part, I would say the thing that I really liked about Threads, even just from, I mean, it's not perfect. There's things that need to be improved, like seriously need to be improved, like a proper timeline, a better way to follow people. But what I have enjoyed is that, like you said, people are posting just random. They feel comfortable enough to just post random things, right? Without people judging them. So like for instance, David Bagnod, though the guy who was he became famous, CBS reporter. He posted pictures of his family yesterday. I would have never seen that on Twitter. His brother got married and he posted pictures of that. I thought it was beautiful. So he felt comfortable enough to post that. I see other people posting food. I see people talking about TV. It's not all about politics, and I think that's the kind of environment that they wanted to create, where and there's also people posting. The reporters are on there, so they're posting news. They're posting political stuff. People are posting about politics. The funny thing is that most people, when it came to like people like the GOP, people just block them. Like they don't even want that energy anywhere near them. Or they're just, even the leftists, they're just blocking them. Like I saw Nina Turner block. Like I think it's a way to kind of start brand
To
new because
reset.
yeah, to reset and start brand new because I'm not dealing with those people. I saw Bree Bree Joy Joy block. There's all of those people that get on my last nerve. Some of them I don't even have blocked on here that I just block because I'm like, I never want to see your faces ever again. Like y'all have tortured and drove us crazy for the last 4 years. No, thank you. So I think it's a way to curate and cultivate the environment that you want to create there, and you can and be able to post whatever it is that you want to post. I post my quotes, I post pictures, I post whatever in the last 5 days. People have been just commenting, liking, not saying anything, but I always felt with this app, because of like so many things that have happened, whether I've been doxxed or people just harassing me, or even people that I block still looking at my account and judging what it is that I'm saying, calling me a cloud chaser, all this kind of stuff. Listen, I could care less about this account. Like I appreciate all the people that follow me. I appreciate the like I said, the good work that we have done. But it's nice to only have but so many followers over there where people are not like just judging you constantly. And that drives me crazy about Twitter. Like every little thing you're being judged upon because people are freaking haters. It is really frustrating. So it is nice to have an environment. It doesn't mean that may happen eventually at some point, but everyone that I've encountered over there, either whether they're from Twitter, there were people I just followed on Instagram, everyone is in a good mood and everyone is having a good time and happy to be there, right? If you made the choice to come there. You didn't have to come there. You made the choice to create an account to come there. So if you're coming there with bad energy, then you're just gonna get blocked. Like that is just plain and simple. Like some guy, he tried to go off on me yesterday about Clarence Thomas, and I'm like, dude, I don't even disagree with you. He's obviously someone that was from Twitter, but you're like ready to go off,
It's
but I'm
like,
not
calm
trying to.
down, dude. It's like,
Yeah, he was mad because Joy Reid said that Clarence Thomas was the Black Judas, and he's like, "Well, technically, he's not even Judas," and he goes off on this whole three, and I'm like, "Dude, I'm not even trying to argue with you about this. All I said was the name was it was a nice name to give him. That's not calling him the devil, because Lord knows I want to call him that all the time. So okay, we'll go with Black Judas." And he's like, "Well, he didn't really." I'm like, "Chill, it's gonna be okay." Like I said, we're always on 10 and trying to argue our point rather than just having the conversation, just saying, like, listen, I don't agree with you. I think he is this, and this because of this. And that's all it took. And once I told him I'm not arguing with you, I haven't heard from him again. So I just feel like people are just gonna they got to find their way on there. But for the most part, in the 5 days that I've been on there, people have been really nice. Everyone has been complimentary, and like I said, it doesn't mean it's going to always stay like that, but it's mostly us laughing at other people like Elon Musk, which was
well,
pretty funny.
that's awesome
But
to hear.
yeah, I mean, Joseph, I definitely think you should join. I think you would like the vibe over there. I have seen no homophobia. I have seen no misogyny. I'm like, oh, this is wonderful. Like, this is great. I don't have to see the
Well,
shit that pisses
you're
me
making
off
it
every day.
enticing, Tip, and I will consider it. But I appreciate that.
You, yeah, no, I listen. I don't want. I'm tired of bigots. Like I'm so tired of them. I really, really am. I'm so tired of dealing with them on this app, and it's literally a free for all on this app,
I
right? You
mean, do
can
you
say
not
whatever
think that that is
you.
exactly what it was he intended? I mean, that's what they
Of
want
course it
here.
is.
They want, because for them, the fighting, the arguing back and forth, that helps the algorithm. That's what he wants, and
Yeah,
it's like,
it's absolutely what he wants. It's always what he wanted. He wanted it to be an argument. He wanted it to be a fight. He lives for the cage match. I mean, he literally asked Zuckerberg
I
to get in a
mean,
cage match, which is
exactly.
crazy. So this is the kind of environment that he wants, right? And so did the GOP. Like they came over there looking for a fight, and no one gave to them. People just straight up blocked them. Like, nah, we're not arguing with you. Go back to Untruth Social and go argue with yourselves because no one is here to argue with you about stupidity. And we don't care what you think. Like all even journalists that even people that have big accounts on here are like, listen, like Brian Tyler, whatever Cohen or whatever his name is, he's like, listen, just block these people. Do not give them any engagement. It's a waste of time. So I feel like people have learned some lessons from Twitter that they are now bringing into that app to make sure that it does not turn into a cesspool. And the good thing is, people that are blue checks are actually blue checks over there, and you're not getting like a whole bunch of bots. Anyways, that's my spiel for the day. You guys can do whatever you want. If you want to join. If you do want to join, my name and you want to find me, my name is Candily_Tiff on that website. And I will be happy. Just, let me know who you are because it's hard to tell who's following you and just comments in there. And I have been happy to see many of the wonderful faces that are actually in this app right now, listening and and on the space over there interacting and having a good time. So it's nice to see people, like you said, showing their authentic
Hmm.
self and not feeling like scared to post about something that's not necessarily political. Not everybody wants to share their life, but like I said, nature pictures, just talk about shows. We are not one dimensional freaking people. We have other likes other than politics, and we need to remember that.
Thank you so much. Well said. Allie, you're up next.
Yeah, thanks so much. I have not gone over yet, but have been thinking about it. But it's really interesting to hear you guys' take on it. So thanks so much for that. I just real quickly wanted to point out just a real quick thing. If you guys want to observe, I put up the New York Times article about NATO on purpose because it's all talking about how kind of weak Biden is. And then when you move along to like the French and the European coverage of the summit, and even a place like Politico, who's covering what's happening with renewable energy and different energy sources, what are they talking about? They're talking about the balance of power, with NATO, and that the Soviet Union is falling apart, that the Russians are falling apart, and what will happen, and how is the Turkish government trying to position itself in terms of trying to keep Sweden out of NATO. That's what they're talking about, the balance of power in the world. They could care less. There's no comments whatsoever on anyone's shoes or
Or
anyone's
whether they have
wardrobe.
socks on with their shoes.
No, no, nobody wears socks with their shoes here. That's seen as cool. So anyway, it's, but if you just kind of look at that, and the very last one I put up there, Biden's hydrogen bombshell leaves Europe in the dust. That is actually a really funny story because the Biden administration has come over to NATO. They won a huge contract from the Norwegian government. Now, if there is a government that is into renewable energy, it's Norway. Norway and Sweden have the system where they push up hot water from the geysers that are underneath their cities to help heat the cities. It's amazing how forward thinking
and
they are.
And
And the Biden
even during
administration,
Allie, you know what? I just saw a
yeah,
documentary. It's like Drain the Ocean, and they had a discovery up there. I can't remember which body of water, where they talked about like Hitler had tried to take the water, the heavy waters from there to build, a bomb, and he was unsuccessful. But you're right, they have been far advanced for a very long time, utilizing their
right.
resources. Hmm.
Right. So when you look at that Nordic bloc that's right on the edge there above Ukraine, and that's right there on the edge with Ukraine, and then Poland sharing that border with Russia, um, they are actually giving a huge contract to the United States on renewable energy using hydrogen. It could have gone to any European country. It could have gone to any other Nordic country. No, they gave it to the United States. It got the best bid.
That
Look
is
at what this
awesome. I am so glad you posted
look
that.
look at what this administration is really doing out on the world stage, and what it's really doing internally in terms of what have been quite successful moves economically. Although everyone is aware economics are fragile at this point on a world level because a lot of stuff is unstable. However, there's this widespread acknowledgement that this administration has made some genius moves and has done it quietly, actually doing what you call governance instead of entertainment. Governance, diplomacy, in
like
trying to
like a lost
stabilize the world.
art, I mean.
Yes, yes, yes. So anyway, it's very interesting because the when you look at something like Turkey, and as you guys may have seen on the news, Paris exploded again last weekend because of another racially charged police shooting, and it exposes again the racist issues that occur within these societies in terms of immigration and different things. But Erdogan, Turkey is, for example, a member of the OECD. I don't know if you guys are familiar with that, but it's the Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development. Um, it is together with the other big powers that were the allies after World War II that rebuilt the Eastern European economies. And they were admitted as a member, as well as Mexico and Israel and Chile and some other countries that weren't allies at the time of the Second World War. But it was actually something that was set up by the Kennedy administration and after the Marshall Plan. So the rebuilding economically of Europe. There was a point about 10 years ago when, before Erdogan got elected, that Turkey was very much going towards Europe.
Right. They
And
were
now he,
really going in a great direction, and
right,
that's what
right.
letting dictators take power can do to you.
Right, and internally, the debate within Turkey is quite interesting because Turkey is right at the crossroads between Asia and Europe. It is the, Constantinople, the Istanbul is the gateway between Asia and Europe, and has been the center point of world history in many different points in time. So that is what the rest of the world is paying attention to right now. They are not paying attention to anything that you hear in these bizarre questions that I hear sometimes in the news briefings with Karine Jean Pierre. It's just amazing to me. It's really something.
See?
So just to let you guys know, other people are actually paying attention to bigger issues and are reassured. They're really reassured. So
Thank you, Allie.
it's not.
And we need to, kind of continue to amplify these things, and to, it's important we talk about what's going on here domestically, because it is our democracy is at stake. But we also need to widen our lens to understand that things that are going on from a wider, geopolitical perspective has a direct impact on how stable our democracy is as well. So thank you so much for that. You guys don't go anywhere. The conversation is great. I have two more people who have joined us, and I asked Danny to join to speak to something, and Mickey has come up as well. So I'm going to go with Mickey and then Danny. And so glad you guys have joined us today. And I'm hoping that maybe Dr. Marshall at some point will join in the conversation, because just to remind you guys, I did a great interview with an elder in our community, Mama Donna's mother. Miss Francis, you must listen to it. And it is a wonderful conversation. It kind of addresses, just from a personal perspective, and also a historical perspective, what Black women, therefore Black people, have had to endure. Some of the rights that we got, what that looked like in the personal lives of people, and the potential for it to change what our life looks like with some of the recent rulings from the Supreme Court. So great conversation. Please listen, share, and amplify, as well as this space. Thank you for being here. So Mickey, giving it to you, and then Danny.
Hi, everyone. Good morning or good afternoon, as the case may be. Just wanted to just follow up on the post about we mentioned geothermal energy, and I just posted something because it is something that we do use here in the U.S., just not a lot of. So I just posted a little something on from the EPA, because it is, an option for those of you who have, homes, and or may want to consider, more sustainable options. I think it's actually, they say back east that actually works fairly well. It's just not, well known and widely known here.
Oh, well, thank you so much. I love learning about sustainable innovations and lifestyle. So thank you so much. At one point, in my kind of Twitter timeline, that was mostly what I was promoting. And then 2016 happened. Because this is, Al Gore's home. He is a beloved person here, and he is actually my ancestors are from his hometown. So he's a smart man. He's brought some of his thoughts and innovations and ideas to farming. And I've told many people that my dad is a farmer. He doesn't do it for a living. He does it now just to eat. And I think it keeps him healthy and sane, because he's 83. But to look at him, you would not know it. He's very active. And so anyway, Mickey, I am so glad that you shared that. Was there anything else that you wanted to share with us?
No, just in terms of, sustainability, I think a lot of times we let certain groups kind of run with that, the earthy, crunchy, hippie, dippy, progressives, etc.
Again, as if the Democratic Party at large is not progressive or cares about climate change. So I love
Well,
it.
I was just going to say that a lot of that technology and practices, they're indigenous to all kinds of groups and people around the world. We've been using them forever, and we just kind of have to, we'll say, go back and retrieve the lessons of our ancestors and those ancient ways, when we look at passive heating and cooling and channeling what Mother Nature has, provided to us. So,
Absolutely. I love that. So thank you again so very much. And I think that considering the past 2 weeks that we have had and experiences, and that we've reached the hottest temperatures on record in many places around the United States and around the world, the climate crisis is here. It can no longer be denied. And as always, I'm going to remind people that the people preventing the advances in this innovation and the climate issues from being addressed have often and are still often being fueled by dark money. Like there are organizations who fund anti-science people, organizations, and initiatives. And that is why we have been unable to address them. Again, even whole entire elections stolen from it. And, let's remind folks that President Jimmy Carter, and thank God he is still with us, but he installed a solar panel on the White House, okay? And his predecessor removed it. So again, Democrats have been progressive for forever. That is who we are at our core and our nature. So yeah, it's kind of like everything else. Patriotism, Christianity, we own those things. And the
yeah.
media and some extreme groups like to kind of wrap themselves up in the symbolism of these things without embracing the true terminology and the meaning behind them. And I say take them back, because I mean, like they've never left us, but take that narrative back, because the people in this space I know are true um, um, patriots, so to speak. You love your country. This democracy. You understand. Many are Christians or practice other faiths, but we know that the people who shout the loudest about these things often practice it the least in their real lives or really care. Because I think a lot of people have learned to take politics and some other kind of hot button issues like climate change and things, and they found a way to grift, from it, from the argument, without actually, giving any real redress or, um, reform to it. So thanks again, Mickey. Appreciate it. If you have anything else, you can finish up, and then
Oh,
Danny, and then Lions.
just one
Okay.
last thing. I would just post something in the nest if you wanna. It was something I listened to this weekend. Prime Minister Mia Mottley from Barbados. She's been really on this issue of climate change, particularly as it relates to um, the Caribbean and other quote unquote newer nations. The ones that are rich. Got their independence in the last 50, 60 years due to colonialism. So take a listen. It's inspiring. She just speaks with such clarity that, it'll just make you whatever you want to do today. It'll give you that energy. So that's it.
Thank you
Bye.
so much. I love it. I look forward to, learning more about her and listening to that. So, Danny, you're up next. And then, well, Danny, if you would not mind, do you have a little time? I'd like to let Lion's Den go because I know I asked you to speak to, a few things. And so you may, um,
Sure. Sure.
Lion, how are you? Queen
Hi,
Bee?
hello everyone. Good afternoon. I'm sorry for my absence for the past couple of weeks, but I had a family emergency. But by God's grace, everything is on track. I was sick last week and I lost my voice. So again, I was not my best. So I would like to tell everyone in this room and or who will listen, thank you for your patience. Everyone in this room will be a part of his story, regardless of what persons say. We all bring something different and unique to this group. Finding out about SCOTUS's ruling last week or the week prior, I was not surprised. I was not hurt. I was just annoyed at the fact that Clarence Thomas, who could not even speak proper English, got help along the way, had the audacity, the disregard of generations before him and present and future, and said, F all of us, F all of us. I want persons to understand that everything that we do now up to 2024 in November is critical. That's why when Threads came on, my mom told me, she said, V, it's best that you try Threads. At first, I was nervous, but then I tried it and I saw persons whom I knew from Tiff, Enrique, Q, and others. And I said, okay, I'm ready. Another thing that bothered me about one of these Foldis's case was about that lady and her fraudulent business. Now, this lady lied, and SCOTUS agreed with her lie, which is now going to affect millions of us or persons that we know here. But in another country called Uganda, those same conservative rules unfortunately got passed in Uganda, and persons' lives are on the line. So, once again, do not be discouraged because we are a part of history, and even years after this is all said and done, our children will know that we did something and we did not sit on these sidelines. Auntie D, I'm grateful for your patience.
Well, I am.
As many of you can tell, I have a speech impediment, and I will say that Aunt CD took her time with me. It takes persons with patience and care to understanding someone like me. And I'm grateful for everyone in this room and who will listen to this space. This space is my family reunion of knowledge, love. Thank you guys once again. Many blessings.
Blessings to you, V, and thank you so very much. And a reminder, guys, on my Spotify channel and my YouTube channel is an interview that I did with Queen V that you definitely should take a listen to. She is an awesome activist. I am so glad she is on our team, and it is not hard at all. To be patient and to be supportive of you. You're an awesome woman, and I am so thankful that I have gotten to know you. And I'm glad. I know that you were, facing some challenges caring for family members and various things. And I'm so glad that you are feeling well enough today to come in and join in the conversation. I feel like we're all enriched by your presence and your contributions. So thank you today for some great contributions and advice. So, Danny, you're up next.
Afternoon, everyone. Thank you, Miss D, for this space and Soul Sister. Hope you feel better as well, Lions Den. And afternoon to everyone else. Um, so, of course, I'm going to talk about the Fourth Estate and their reporting on our current president and our past president, President Obama. And when I was reading and listening into the reporting, one of the things that jumped out at me, President Biden with no socks, like heaven forbid. I guess that's his tan suit moment. Um,
That's exactly what I thought of, Danny. I was like, y'all are so petty.
I, and like it cannot be a slow news day. Like everything that we got going on right now, like this is what we're focusing on. And I mean, if you ever want to see just how privileged President Bush, VP Cheney, VP Pence, even to some degree Al Gore, how privileged those men are. We don't hear what they do, their comings and goings. If they're out to dinner, if they are overseas, we don't hear anything too much about them. V, Mike Pence, he's a laughing stock. They don't even take him seriously. He has no political home. But when you look at everything that Dick Cheney has done when he was vice president, you look at everything that George Bush has done when he was president, the fact that they have the right and the privilege and the luxury to just quietly live their lives. President Obama and his family, that includes his wife, his daughters, and his mother in law, his brother in law, they did what they were supposed to do for 8 years. They were the model family. Whether people want to believe that or not, did not mean that neither one of them was perfect. But they understood that they were being watched. They understood that they had to represent, that they would be critiqued, that, they would be under a microscope. And damn if they did not play their part right. And I hate to say it that way because it's not really playing a part. I think that's just who they were. They were literally just trying to do the best that they could for the
They
American people.
understood their
And
duty and they carried it out with
yeah,
precision. Yeah.
and still for 8 years, I'm sure he had to find a way to block it out, to try to protect the daughters, to have his wife be compared to an ape or a gorilla. The fact that no one even wants to acknowledge on that side that his mother is white and that he was raised by his white grandparents. Like, they only ever saw him as a black man, and they were going to always remind us and the rest of the world that he was. And I feel like that's what we're seeing here when it comes to what he's doing on vacation. He's served his time as president for 8 years. He has done the best that he could possibly do. Leave that man alone. And then to have someone like a Dick Cheney, look at what he did with the Middle East. Donald Rumsfeld, I know he's gone, but look at what his hand was in all of that. And that all of them are just able to quietly go back to their normal lives, back to raising money, back to donating, back to pushing their own agenda behind closed doors. They're given privacy, they're given privilege, they are given the opportunity to just live. And the fact that somebody decided they wanted to not only threaten former President Obama, but be so close in his neighborhood.
All because the former guy, the White House squatter, posted his address along with Podesta's, I think, on a Telegram channel or maybe his social media, but somewhere publicly. Um,
And the question is, how did Donald Trump know that? Y'all not friends. You shouldn't have that information. And secondly, who gave it to him? Because I don't think anybody in Obama's inner circle would give it to Donald Trump. So who did Donald Trump get it from?
yes. Mm,
And why is that not gross negligence? I don't know, Mark. Like, why can't we sue? Like, just provide, I mean, it's funny because I'm trying not to be too serious about it because then it gets scary, right? Because then we remember what happened last year to Pelosi's husband. It's like anybody on the Democratic side, you see the same thing with the man from Miami, Florida, back in 2018, I think. Yeah, 2018. Cesar, I think was his name, and Sayoc. And he was just sentenced to, I believe, 20 years. He was the one that was sending bombs through the mail during the midterms in 2018. And just last year, he was finally sentenced for doing that. And again, he was sending these packages to Obama, to the Clintons, to the Bidens, to CNN headquarters, and so forth. For one reason or another, people on the Democratic side just cannot go back to living a quiet life. Clintons, I don't know how many times they've been threatened. And it is not a game. And I'm telling you, if y'all think that was 2020, 2020, after George Floyd was uprising, anything should happen to the Obamas. I don't know if America is going to be ready for that. And I'm not trying to put threats on the internet because that's traceable. We don't want to do that. But you have to also understand, y'all need to be really careful about doing or trying to harm certain people. The Obamas are one of them. Their daughters, and it extends to the rest of that family. Please leave them alone.
I mean, we all sat,
He is not the
our
president.
community all sat on pins and needles for 8 years praying for their safety. And,
Do,
so yeah.
do you remember his inauguration in 2008? And I know I wanted to see it because I was not in Chicago at the time or in DC at the time. But I was like, I want to see him come out of that limo. But at the same time, we don't need any snipers. Like, can we trust that they're going to protect him? I remember everybody was like holding their breath. Okay, now get
Hmm.
back in the car. Like, hurry up, get back in the car,
I
get back
mean,
into the
because,
beast because we don't need no issues
right.
right
And it's
now.
not like we
Because,
don't have examples of this happening to the great men and
yeah,
women in our country.
yeah, yeah. And it's he can't even enjoy his time out of office, and I think that is a shame. Um, and the way it was reported on, the way that it was covered, like a regular news. Why is that not breaking news Ari Melber. That's what's breaking news.
Exactly. But instead,
Um,
we get Joe Biden wearing tennis shoes with no socks. Okay.
where's the crime in that? Why is that important? What am I supposed to do with that information? How does it help me make a decision with these upcoming elections? It does nothing for me. You're literally just wasting space. You're wasting a segment on television. You're wasting a column in a newspaper by reporting on
And
this.
as Tip has
You're
said,
literally,
like sometimes we can waste energy arguing back and forth with, trolls and bigots and people on, social media platforms. The same can be true and is true with these media people wasting space, airtime, and,
yeah.
column space on
Mhm.
things that don't matter. Like our democracy truly is at stake.
and and because you're spending so much time focused on this, then people don't get the information that they need. Um, the flooding that happened this weekend, all of all up and down northeast, because we got a whole bunch of rain this
I
past
mean, the
weekend,
whole
and I know it
world
went
was
all the way.
on fire this week, and the rain has been non-stop. Like I was saying earlier, before you came in, like part of the reason I wasn't quite as prepared as I wanted to be for today's space is I have been without power intermittently
Yeah,
all night, all morning. So,
yeah, I can imagine. Our lights flickered a couple of times, but we did not lose power, thankfully. Um, but we're not even talking about the flooding in New York. People are losing their homes. Bridges are out. I don't even want to know what the train station or what that even looks like at this point. The subways. Um, and then think about what happened in New York just 2 weeks before that. Their air quality. Like, that's what we want to know about. I mean, when you think about credible journalism, without it, you don't get those stories. You don't get current events or current affairs. You don't even get international affairs. You don't get environmental science or environmental racism, like what happened in Flint or what happened in Jackson. Those people are still dealing with their own water crisis in the middle of the heat. They can't even trust the water that is coming from their faucet. And there's been no reporting. Again, it's just okay, next story. Well, what happened to them? Who's being held accountable? We know what happened with Flint, with Governor Snyder or former Governor Snyder. Nobody was really held accountable. Some of the families got a payout, not enough in my opinion, because now these children have lifetime uh, medical needs that needs to be addressed because of the drinking water. um, we still don't know too much about Jackson. And those were just only two cities. We haven't talked about Newark. There are so many other things that could be addressed, and unfortunately, they're not. And we don't know about the stock market. We don't know about natural disasters. Remember, I told you guys a couple of weeks, I found out about the other boat that was carrying 750 people that capsized because Obama talked about it. And I found out on Twitter. Like, it wasn't even being reported on your nightly news because everybody was, obsessed with the submersible or whatever. Um, when you have that, when you have a lack of credible journalism, what it also creates is a news desert where people just don't even get the news anymore. And that creates a breeding ground for misinformation and disinformation. So now you're doing twice as much work trying to get the correct information out and trying to fight back against misinformation and disinformation. Right now, I feel like all we have is just infotainment. Let me say something, let me, do like a witty tweet so you guys can tune into my show, and then I'll just give you an hour of opinions. What happened to just credible, fact-based, evidence-based news? Let me determine what I want to hear or whether I like it or not. But at least report what's happening. And there is a lot that is happening in the world. A lot of it can be scary. One of the ways that helps me feel grounded is when I know what's going on. Yes, I am nosy, of course. Who wouldn't be? But I also like to know what's going on just for my own safety.
We do. I mean, and you, as always, Danny, bring out some extremely important, critical points. Like the world, things are going on in the world, no matter what they are reporting. And it would be great if, those that are in, the place to be able to report would be reporting more broadly what's going on, as opposed to trying to report on what they feel like people want to hear, the topic of the day, the topic that's trending, the one that's going to get them, some, you know, um, clicks and, likes. So it's just another example of their failing, and the danger that they pose to us, which is why, like I said, I always love when you come and you speak to us about this, because it's not that you're a journalist, you're a citizen journalist, you're a citizen, an engaged, informed citizen who looks at and who is able to discern, what journalism is doing and what it is not doing, and how it is, harming us or helping us, when there is, some reporting that does, because not all of them are behaving in this way, but there's so few. There's so few.
Yeah, and the majority of them that are tend to be the loudest voices. So they tend to drown out a lot of the good voices. And again, if you don't know a Christian Amanpour, a Richard Engel, if you don't know a Sherilyn Ifill, I know she's not traditionally a journalist, but she is one of
She's a
the
great
best that I
source of
think.
information.
Yes, Soledad O'Brien. Even Dan Rather. I know he's retired, but you can still catch him on Twitter.
And he has
I'm
a
telling
newsletter as well too, that I'm sure you
you.
can sign up from. You can get a link from his timeline to sign up for, and it is a great newsletter.
I mean, you don't really see them come up on your timeline, and sometimes I have to go and search in my search bar and go look for it, right? Because they don't always show up, even though I'm following them. And so you miss out on good journalism. And so now you're just kind of left with all these opinion pieces. I'm sorry, I don't want to hear Chris Hayes tell me anything about Russia. What does he know about Russia? Nothing. Um, Same thing with Susan Sarandon. I don't care. Nina Turner. I don't know. No, no, no. You can't tell me anything right now. And you're not a journalist, but you're on a panel and they're asking you questions. So you think that you're relevant or that you are informed enough to start reporting on it. No, you're not. I don't care. I don't care what she has to say to the lot of them. We saw, what was it last week? The Young Turks. I don't even know her name. Anna somebody. She was getting dragged all week, as she should, but they're not journalists. But they are given the protection and the access as if they were. And that's where the danger comes, because a lot of the times their reporting is just opinions. It's not fact based. It's opinion based, and everybody has an opinion.
Yeah,
I'm
they're
not
they're
interested.
influencers that have taken on the persona of journalists.
Exactly. And I still go back to, if journalism is covered under our Constitution as the fourth estate, maybe we should start looking into, should it be a licensed profession? Because there should be some consequences on how you are presenting information to the general public. Not everybody's going to be a political junkie like the majority of us in this space, right? So we can kind of smell the BS and like, okay, no, I want to source that better. I want to see somebody else report on it before I even share it, right? That's one of the things that I love about your space is that you don't just let anybody up. And if we are going to report on something or mention something, we literally have something, two or three sources to back up what we're saying, right? We're not going, well, we heard this, and this. No, NPR reported it, AP reported it. This is coming from uh, NBS, NBC News desk or something, right? So it's not just, oh, well, that guy on Young Turk said it. Okay, but where did he get his information from? And again, they all peddle in misinformation and disinformation. And last week, it was a great conversation. I just couldn't come up. But when we talked about the Supreme Court, and again, a lot of when I think about Chief Justice Roberts, I also look at Sandra Day O'Connor because I think that the way they rule are going to be parallel, and I think that in the end, history will not be kind to either one of them. Um, they both have decided that they get to choose what's best for the American people. Um, I don't think Sandra Day O'Connor, while she was still with us, because she's, um, that she was ever fully held accountable for that 2000 election. Again, just like with the rest of the men that I just mentioned, she was able to just kind of fade in the background and go and live her life. We don't really hear too much about her role and how this country ended up being after the 2000 election. Um, I think it should be examined for I don't know, last 2 years, we've been hearing RBG name getting thrown out. Well, she should have done this. She should have done this. She should have did this. And quietly, Sandra Day O'Connor's name never gets mentioned. And that vote was a lot closer than the 6-3 that we have now. And again, we journalists, and I have to say journalists because it's not always Republicans. It's not always the Mitch McConnells, the Lindsey Grahams, um, even the John McCains of the world that are bashing Democrats, that are going after liberals or the American people. It is journalists as well. You don't present an accurate picture of what happened. So it leaves room for people to interpret or leave out vital information. That is the danger when we don't have good journalism. That is the danger of when you don't have sound journalism. When you don't have integrity in your work, then it doesn't stand up against the test of time. People can pick it apart, they can pull anything out. And so now you're now having to fight back on your own reporting. And for the life of me, I do not understand. The Fourth Estate is covered under the Constitution. It is covered. For one reason or another, those men, those white men that came from England, decided, no, we got to protect freedom of speech. We're going to protect it. It's that important. We're going to put it up there. Some of them were inventors, some of them were doctors, physicians, philosophers. And the one profession they wanted to protect was journalism, the right to give information freely to the people. And now we've turned it into a business. And now they try to dictate what we should know, what we should
And
learn.
who should be free to express themselves, because they throw those words around, but they really, again, it's kind of like, Christianity and patriotism and those types of things that they throw on. They don't really mean it. What they want is the freedom to shut down a speech that is against their beliefs and ideology, and they want people to bring them into spaces that people don't care to hear their lies and their hateful bigotry, expressed.
And last thing that I'll mention is journalism, as much as I critique it, I don't expect it to be perfect, but I do expect it to be better. And I want good journalism, because if we don't even have that, imagine if we don't have the news, even good news. What does that look like? We have no news on the stock markets. You have no news on current affairs. You have no news on international affairs. You have no news when it comes to current events. So you don't know what the mass shooting was or where. Imagine if you had none of that information. What would this look like? What would you do? And so this is really just not a calling out as much as, can we just get it better? And there's a way to do it. There are some giants in journalism. Some of them are still here. Like, they haven't all just passed. There's a way, there's literally a formula that works. Can we get back to that? And if not, why? And if you're not going to be willing to get back to that, then why are you in the profession? Because we see a lot of journalists that have access, and you get access and you do nothing with it. Ron DeSantis, he was interviewed, I think, by Fox, because I did not watch the full interview. And they asked him no questions in regards to the flooding that happened in Florida or the immigration laws that he put in place. July 1st, just last week, um, the permitless carry went into effect. Um, to all the parents who have children in public schools in the state of Florida, this new school year, they have decided the way to combat mass shootings is that all children K to 12 are going to have clear backpacks. Like, that's going to stop the gunman. So if somebody comes to the school with the gun, that clear backpack is going to do it. Like,
I mean, they
if
want to
y'all not
spend
asking,
so much money on hardening, facilities, SRO officers,
right?
and you know what? Some of these Republicans, they are building businesses off of this. Instead of taking the guns away, there are companies who have now created special glass, and this was after, they are selling it. Actually, I think the Covenant School now has it, but it's shatterproof, and all of these other things, and these security companies or whatever. So again, it's kind of, they have created an enterprise around a problem that they created, when those enterprises would not perhaps need to exist if they would actually address the root cause of the problem, which are guns.
And we can do that. And just last week, they had the uh, family go into Marjorie Stoneman Douglas, and they actually went to the building, the 1200 building where a large part of the massacre happened. And it's 5 years later. It's 5.5 years later, actually. And nothing has changed. No new laws have been put in place in the state of Florida. And everyone is saying they're going to demolish the building. They're not going to, they're, no one's going to go back into that building. But as though, and they've preserved it. So unfortunately, the family was able to see the crime scene as it was on that day. Um, some did say that, they wanted lawmakers to come. Uh, if you are going to write laws to loosen the gun laws in this country, or in this state at least, you should at least go to a crime scene. And again, Ron DeSantis was literally just interviewed this weekend. Not one question was asked. That is lazy journalism. Even if he picks and chooses who he wants to have the interview with, that's lazy that you don't ask that question. That's all that's been reported this week, or last week, I should say, on the news, that the families went back to Marjorie Stoneman Douglas. You hear the parents crying, you know, the coach that tried to protect his students. You hear his mother cry. What more could I have done? What more could he have done? You hear, I mean, and it is graphic and it is sad, but he needs to also answer for that, because now he's not trying to just run for the state of Florida. He is now trying to run the entire United States. That is a worthy question. That is a good question to ask him. And not one journalist that did have the opportunity to ask him asked him that. That's unacceptable. Why wouldn't you? I don't care about your polling with Donald Trump. It's too early anyway. Y'all are probably going to cancel each other out. Who cares? We don't care about the polling. But your numbers are down because no one likes you in this state. And then he also is now trying to pass a law in the state that if you try to run for president while you're governor, you can still keep your governorship. Why would that be important right now? And he wasn't even asked that. So this is what I mean when I say lazy journalism or just bad journalism. Because now you have access, you have him sitting right in front of you, and you don't even ask. If he chooses to ignore the question, continue to ask it or don't move on. I don't understand the correlation. I don't understand the need to want to get to the interview and just drop the ball. Like, y'all picked this. Why? I'm gonna keep asking why, but because I don't have an answer, unfortunately. But it's just some of the things that I see and that I wish that they could be better at, that they would be better at. And the only reason why I do want to hold them accountable, because we know that if it's Biden, they ask that question. If it's VP Harris, they ask that question. If it's President Obama, they ask that question. If it's the Clintons, they ask that question. And they don't necessarily ask it in a way to get an answer. Sometimes and oftentimes it's usually accusatory. Why did you do it this way and not this way? The privilege that Republican leaders have when it comes to journalism, I think should also be studied. They do tend to get friendlier questions. Democrats just need to know it, all the answers, all the time, be right, be able to make everybody happy. And I don't think that the other side gets that kind of scrutiny or that those level of hostility when it comes to questions. We even saw it last week when President Biden uh, talked about the student loan debt. And the journalist, he answered her one question, and why did you give them false hope? And right, good for him. I didn't give them false hope. And he shut it down quickly. And I'm glad to see that he did. President Biden got some fight in him. I like it. I hope that continues. But again, they don't ask Donald Trump that question.
Right.
And that's the biggest problem. And so I'm just going to continue to rant and rave and get upset. But thank you for letting me speak, Misty and
Well,
Gwen.
thank you. You brought some very, very important observations, as you always do. I had Donna up here. I think maybe she lost connection. Are you guys still storming down there?
No, no, there's
Okay.
no today. I'm in a different
Um,
county than she's in, so
Right. I'm not sure, but I'm going to try to give her a few more moments because she doesn't come up to speak that often. So I'm thinking that maybe it was a connection issue, but don't go anywhere. I'm going to give you and Mickey some final words because Donna was going to be our last speaker. And I want to yield to my co host to see if she had anything that she might like to share or add. On top of, the great, presentation that you just gave us and how we need to always be aware of the place that journalism should have that it was given. Oh, Donna is back. That it was given actually in our Constitution, and I love the way that you express that. And like, of all the professions in the world that they decided to put in there, they could have put doctor, lawyer, Indian. They put journalism in there for a reason. And I often remind people that you know. Um, Donald Trump once made the statement, I think it was when he was in Nevada, that, he liked the uneducated. And there's a reason. And there's a reason that we have organizations like Moms for Liberty currently, but in the past we had the Daughters of the Confederacy and others who have, in the very beginning, it was against the law, literally, for slaves to read and write, and for anyone to teach them. So this is a source of information. And when people don't want you to be informed, they don't want you to gain knowledge, because knowledge is power. It truly is. And it is very easy to control um, um, a population that is not informed. And that is what dictators and fascists do. And one of the first things that they all do is shut down the media. That is, I want to bring your attention back to um, Hungary, which was a burgeoning democracy. And Viktor Orban won. And one of the first moves he made was to shut down all access to independent reporting and media. And so they have journalism, but it's pretty much state journalism, which is pretty much what Putin has there. I mean, like when he went to war in Ukraine, he literally passed laws about what people could say and do. Like they can't just like, dictator, the Floridian dictator down there, don't say gay. Putin told his citizens, don't say war. So, this is what it will be like. And if you are paying attention, like I said, it sounds good, and it may look good to you right now out here, this guy out here running on retribution. But I guarantee you, when you're caught in the net, and you will, everybody ends up being that way, because only those that are loyal and useful to the dictator get to live and truly, have any sense of freedom. But, is it really free? So anyway, going to give Soul Sister, well, Donna, we got Donna back. So Donna, I'm going to give you the floor, and then we're going to wrap up with Donna, and I'm going to give Mickey and Danny an opportunity for some closing words, and then my fabulous co-host. So I am so glad that you joined us today, Donna. How are you?
I'm doing well, just a little busy today because I was in, but I had to drop out. My doctor's office called. I had to take that one.
I figured it was something, so I'm glad you came back.
um, I just wanted to say thank you so much for the interview with my mom. She really enjoyed it. She don't get to talk to a lot of her friends and stuff anymore. A lot of them are gone, so she's kind of, nostalgic about how things used to be when she had all her friends. And she that's what she said. She said she really enjoyed it, and she said I only got to tap on just a little bit, but so she was in her happy mood, and
That is
like she
awesome. And I told her, like, we just really touched the surface. I expect to have more conversations with your mom, and we have talked about actually me having a conversation, kind of a little roundtable with some elders, much like her, because I think there is much that we can learn from women like her. So it's going to be a continuing conversation. This is just a preview of what's to come. So I can't tell you like how much of a delight it was to me to talk to her. She's so wonderful.
and she didn't even get a chance to tap in on the service that my grandmother and grandfather, because they were both government workers as well, who retired from the government. And now that's the real geist of it, because those two, one worked for my grandfather was worked for the Park Service, and my grandmother worked for the government printing office, and they actually had to sue to get a lot of the money and stuff that they were shafted out of. So yeah, it's a lot, and it gives a historical kind of review of how people say, oh, the government is this, the government is that. Oh, they don't know what the government was like unless they actually worked there. So, yeah, she can give you some historical respect prospects of that. So, but yeah, I just wanted to say thank you so much, dear. She really enjoyed it. She did.
Well, thank you, and again, just give her a big hug. I really enjoyed it, and like I said, I've spoken to another person who has agreed to have this conversational roundtable with the elders, and I can't wait. And maybe we can get more into your grandparents' work and things because, I was talking to Dr. Marshall, who, of course, you all know is a historian. And for me, yeah, I'm a news junkie, but I'm also, a history nerd of sorts. And I find history most interesting and resonating when it is viewed through, like the personal lens perspective. Like people like your mom and Dr. Marshall, who, like, I know fact and date wise about the civil rights laws, that were won and achieved, but it's quite a different perspective to know um, how those laws. What they looked like in people's lived lives because like your mom went to work right after that and like how affirmative action helped her enter the workforce, but like it still wasn't smooth sailing or anything. It wasn't like you're in, hey, everything's cool now. It's a
No.
constant fight. It always has been, and for a long time it probably will continue to be. And when I look at historical data and stuff, I oftentimes think about my grandmother who was born in the early 1900s and my great great grandfather who was born in the late
18.
1800s. And
Yeah.
when I read dates and things, I think about them because, like, my one grandmother, I know her, I knew her, and she lived to be 98, just a few months shy of 98 years old. So she saw a lot of things happen, and I know the kind of person that she was. So to know that she endured things like a pandemic, race riots, and all manner of things, not being able to vote, not being able to be educated and to go to school, and to know the woman that she was when she, was here. It amazes me and it gives me hope. It gives me hope. And talking to people like your mom gives me hope. And it helps, just like I said, some of the historical achievements that we have made, it just sears them in my brain, my mind, my memory in a more significant way.
Yeah. Because after the interview, me and my mom were talking, and she was saying how that was what everybody did being in D.C. That's what everybody did. They got a government job, they worked there, and they retired. She said, but when we look back and compare it to now, most of my cousins, some younger, some older, they're not going into the government like that anymore. They're going in the private industry. And that was so it's a lot of different ways. By having these type of interviews, even as a family, we can sit down and think about things that we hadn't thought about. So it was really enlightening. It was.
Well, I am glad to know that she felt that way, and that you continue. It sparked even further conversation um, between you and her, and I hope that it continues to do that, and I hope it does that for other people. And as I told you, I some of the questions that I had for her were based on kind of questions that I asked some of my older relatives and things. And Dr. Marshall, I've learned some things from her, but it's important, again, for us to tell our history, for us to get our history. I put up in the Jumbotron about one of the freedom riders that we lost recently, who was 83 years old. And, the impact that they, their work, their sacrifices have made that we get to benefit from. And I think we need to remember and give honor to those that, you know, have done that, because it's on their shoulders truly that we stand. It's because of them that we're able to go to certain places and walk through the front doors and to get served and to go to school. So it matters.
Yeah,
So,
and then too, it's like very few people, on this app really have know my mom or have talked to her. Danny has, because when we were fighting for her baby boy, with dealing with the school system here, and she could tell you it's rough. And having her and her experience dealing with it, it helped us try to get through to some of the people that she really needed to get to. So yeah, that's who she is. If it's a problem somewhere, and especially if it's dealing with the kids, or, but I just say younger than her, because she look at all of us as kids. So she'll do what she can.
and I love that. And I immediately grasped that in our conversation. She is someone who is a helper. Mr. Rogers said, look to the helpers. And so it doesn't surprise me that your mom is someone that people look to. My mother was much that kind of person as well. And like I said, I just feel grateful to have had an opportunity to, introduce myself and her to introduce herself and share a little bit of her story. And I feel like it just piqued my interest and got me inspired enough. I'm very eager for the next conversations.
Well, I think y'all both were enamored by each other. We'll put it that way.
Okay. Well, thank you so much, Donna, for joining us today. And again, like I said, I put that interview up in the Jumbotron, and it is on my podcast channel, Spotify, Apple, and Anchor. Later on today, I will have it on my YouTube channel. So I encourage you guys to listen to it there and also to subscribe to those channels because, we talked about a little earlier how crazy things are getting here. I don't even know if this app is going to be around. We're all going different places, scattering to the winds, but our heart and our minds are still the same, the work that we're doing. So we will continue to find each other, and I'm finding my other places and communities. So I would love to build community with you guys on those platforms that I'm on. So I hope
Hey,
that you do join.
do you have Instagram?
I don't.
Oh, okay.
It's that Zuckerberg thing, and I actually have an Instagram account. I just don't use it. I have a Facebook. I don't use it, and I'm going to think about it. I've heard really good things about Thread. I just need to kind of meditate on it a little bit more. But if I join, I'll find you guys, and I'll make sure I'm there.
Yeah, because how they say, even your little one has an Instagram page.
Yeah. I just I have so many reasons. Like I said, we all have our little things and people and issues and he's one of mine. And so that's just my personal protest stance. And I may change my mind, give in to the threads. I don't know, but I'll let you guys know. So, Mickey, you're still up here. Did you have any final words that you'd like to share with us?
No, I'm good. I hope everybody has a great rest of the day, and hopefully, I'll be able to catch up with you guys soon.
Well, awesome. You shared some wonderful information with us today. I can't wait to take a look at that and learn a little bit more about it. As I said, I love learning about sustainability and seeing what we can do in that area, and certainly amplifying, great messages is about it. So thanks again for that. And Danny, as always, it was a joy, and just so informative. For you to hear from you today. So I want to give you an opportunity for some last words. I know you shared a lot with us, and I really appreciate that because I feel like we're all a little bit smarter and just a bit more passionate and more keen and keenly aware of what's going on in the media because of the way that you speak to it with the passion that you have for it. So, again, I am just always so grateful for you to come and take time out of your day to share with us. So, any last thoughts from you?
Thank you for having me, Miss D and Gwen. The only thing I'll say is just continue to support good journalists. We need to highlight those more. It's not just, and again, I know I come down hard on them, but it really isn't just to critique them. It's really it's just asking that we get better news reporting because it's important. It is so necessary. Um, Especially what's going on with Ukraine, what's going on with NATO. Again, I mention it often. I'm not someone who's too informed or well informed when it comes to geopolitics. So when I hear about what's happening in Ukraine, um, Russia, all that stuff, my ears tend to perk up because that's information that I'm just not familiar with. So I like to hear good reporting, sound reporting on information like that. It gives me a better understanding of geopolitics. And that's never a bad thing when you have more information and you have information that is fact based, that's evidence based, backed by data. That can never be a negative, in my opinion. So hopefully, if you are like me, you do have a few subscriptions to different newspapers, and I guess that they are getting the message because on my timeline on Twitter, I'm seeing a lot of $29 a year for Washington Post. So maybe they're getting the hint that, a lot of people have left their publications. New York Times is another one that sometimes you'll see, they're trying to offer rates at a discounted price if you sign up. But if you have access to good journalism, then highlight that, retweet it, share it.
Yes, I'm glad that you mentioned the Washington Post because I am a subscriber, but normally that little discount is only offered at the end of the year,
Here.
like at Christmas time. So I thought it was interesting. Like,
Here we are
okay.
in July, right? Yeah. And again, and the negative about not having good journalists is that we get a news desert where literally there are no local publication, right? So now you're just kind of forced to, if you can in your area afford cable, maybe you're only watching Fox. So it's good also to invest and support your local journalists as well. And sometimes, and again, all journalism is local, like all politics. It takes local journalism, local reporting, eventually for things to become national, right? That's what happened in Jackson. That's what happened in Flint. Um, a lot of what
Tennessee
happened in
3.
other areas. Exactly, exactly. Environmental racism and reporting, I think, is another underlying like area that we don't get enough of it until it becomes a bigger issue. But again, it's all important. So that's all. Thank you so much.
Well, thank you. And I love that you, again, kind of highlighted environmental journalism because, and we talked earlier about, Black farmers and those types of things because Black communities are often harmed environmentally with a lot of things. And here in Memphis, we have a lot of communities where, the TVA, they have coal ash sites, they have danger to their water system and supply as well. And, you know, earlier in the year, they were under a boiled water advisory. So, Only probably because I look to certain local papers and things. Do I know that? But was it advertised, or was it made known nationally? No. And another conversation that I'd like to have. I've had a little bit of it here today, but. About in the past, but they also we talked about them taking black people's land. We have black farmers here in West Tennessee whose land they are trying to take now because, the big Ford Automotive Company has come and planted their flag here. They've been given the biggest, kind of contract and deal that the state has ever made. And so, black people who have owned land right there. At that site and around it are being pushed out so as not to be able to benefit from that. And the grossest part of all of it is that many of them, a couple of them, their ancestors were slave. They were enslaved and worked on that land, and then they were able to become owners of it. And now that they're owners, now they're trying to take it again. So it's kind of like our rights. We fight for them, we get them, and then they try to take them again. So we have to stay woke, and it's
Yeah.
constant. It's constant.
And just one last thing, if I can, and I think it's
Mm-hmm.
also important too that we also remind folks too, just because that as we see with our rights, environmental racism, it just means that Black people or the most marginalized get hit first. Doesn't mean that you won't get hit as well. We just get hit first. Eventually, it's going to come knocking at your door too. Nobody's safe from this. And in real time, we are watching people that has been elected in our government, different levels, right? Whether it's state, whether it's federal, um, they are literally trying to rewrite our Constitution in front of us. They are about being exclusive, not inclusive. And if you are not white, if you are not straight, if you are not male, you should be really concerned. This should, I don't know what else needs to happen. If you've been asleep at the wheel, I don't know what needs to dog you up. Because we've all been woke, right? We saw this. This is why so many of us were crying in 2016. Why some of us were still angry about 2000, right? Because that's really when it started, I think, in some ways. Um, but they are literally rewriting our Constitution, and they are trying to exclude as many people as possible and daring us to do anything about it. No shade. I'm not trying to tell anybody how they should protest or anything, but it's not enough to just knit a pink hat or, you know, don on a Handmaid's Tale costume. Like, enough of that. That's theatrics. We don't need that. We need some real action here. And so that 47% that voted, thank you. You saw it for what it was and you did your best. But more than likely, that 47 also knows that 53% and that 55%. And that's where the real work belongs and where it needs to be uh, focused on. And again, it's not just because, Black people, we're going to hold the Clarence Thomas accountable. We're going to hold the Tim Scotts accountable. White men, too. I keep saying it. White supremacy is an illusion. They'll pick and choose who is protected today, and then they will change their minds tomorrow. You are not as safe as you think you are. And I hope that that message becomes clear as the day goes by. Because that's really what it's going to come down to. So, okay, I'm done. Thank you.
Thank you so much. You, again, just are making so much sense. And I did let Carrie come up because I saw in our thread that she posted something because you have that way about you, Danny. You spark, enthusiasm and passion in others. And so I think Carrie wanted to add something regarding um, um, investigative journal, local journalism. So, Carrie, go ahead, and then I'm going to go to Soul Sister, and we're going to close up. And I want to thank you guys again for an awesome conversation as always this week. Carrie?
Yes, thank you. This has been great as usual. I'm so happy that you do this. Thank you, thank you. And I just wanted to let people know that this summer I've had to go through. I mean, I have to do this regularly, is, check what I'm subscribed to in automatic renewals and make sure I cancel what I have to. And I've had to cancel the majority of all um, digital newspaper subscriptions, because like with most of us, inflation has just caught up to us, and I've spent way, 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 way more on my grocery bill than I've ever imagined that I did, by not being very careful when I'm actually at the store and then looking back. So whoa. But I just wanted to encourage people still, as I do, to when there's a sale, especially, I even caught a really good sale for the San Francisco Chronicle for a while. You just have to be sure to, cancel that.
I got that one too. Yeah,
Yeah,
like 25 cents for two
yeah.
months or
It was
whatever. And I was
crazy,
like, yeah.
amazing. Yeah, you just have to remember to cancel that auto renewal right away. Otherwise, you get in trouble like I have done. But and I try to go, like sometimes I'll catch a sale at the Miami Herald or the Milwaukee Sentinel. Is that what it's called? Just several. And it gives you different perspective, and I just love it. But I also, there are the free papers, so I posted down below the Flatwater Free Press, which has just done fantastic journalism. And when I get a chance, I'll donate to them. And then there's another one. I can't remember if it's not the Tennessee Bee. I don't know why I'm blanking out. It's like the Bee something, but it has fantastic journalism, especially about Black issues. And when I find it, I'll post it below and give it to the attention of Danny and Dee. But please do share your gems for news, whether it's the reader in your town or whatever, so we can share, and do your best to catch those sales, and then cancel that automatic renewal, so that we can keep each other abreast of what's going on. And thanks again, everybody. Thank you, Danny. Thank you all.
Well, thank you, Carrie, and I appreciate that. I think I turned a whole lot of people on to Tennessee Holler. Probably didn't think, they were that big a deal, but they do some great work, and I am glad that they have gotten amplified, and they get followed, because not for them, there were a lot of things that we probably never would have known, that wouldn't have been included in our kind of local, the legacy paper, like the Tennessean and that type of stuff. And I feel like um, Jason, the guy who runs it, has been inspired and encouraged by the support, and what it allows them to do is to hire more people to go further, and to just be encouraged. And if you can support them, then certainly do. But for some of them, it's their passion and they love to do it. And I feel it's important to let them know we see what they're doing. It's important, it's needed. So again, thank you so much, Carrie and Danny, and I want to thank all of the early speakers that we had, Mark, for coming and giving us that legal update. And we're going to get some more, of course. He's our regular. He keeps us, informed and sane about some of these things. And Mickey for bringing us the environmental, updates, the story on that hydro. What was it again, Mickey? The okay, she may have stepped away, but
I
we
think it
appreciate.
was geothermal energy.
Geothermal. Okay,
Geo.
yes, because Ali was talking about hydrothermal, so that's how but yes, I love sustainability, and we have to be looking at these things. So just a great conversation today, that, everyone, Ali have certainly gave us some great geopolitical, news, and Queen V coming in, sharing with us, checking back in after, she's been dealing with some things, and knowing that, like, all of you are going to continue to do the work, whether you come in here or not, whether you speak in here or not. I just appreciate the work that that you do, and I know that you're going to continue to do it. But I again appreciate all of you coming in and sharing your voices with us. And Joseph again, and we even had Gregoire earlier. We hadn't had him in a while, so just a lot of wonderful voices, a lot of great information and conversation today. So I want to thank you all and remind you that of course you can share and retweet the space for those who weren't here or weren't able to stay, to hear this conversation. And I do try to repost our conversations onto my other podcast channels, and I will be putting that one there as well. My Spotify and Apple channels are caught up to last week, so I will be getting this one there. My goal is to try to have these conversations there on Tuesday, and eventually by the end of the week on my YouTube channel, along with, of course, the other personal one-on-one interviews and group conversations that I will be doing and the ones that I have done. So again, just I really appreciate you guys so much for being supportive, for joining, contributing. It means a lot, and we're all in this together. And I think we just continue to come here and share with one another. It's important. And as I have said many times, no matter what happens, I'll be here until this app evaporates. I'm making plans to be in other places when and in case it does, so that we can gather and find each other, because we know no matter app no app, we're going to be fighting. And so it's important to just have other like-minded people in the fight with us, and I know that all of you are. And look, Allie came back up. She's wants some last words, and then I'm going to my co-host, and I'll close you out with some wonderful inspiring words from John Lewis.
Breaking news, breaking news. Turkey has agreed to not block Sweden from joining NATO. That's huge. There we
Woohoo!
go.
That is
That's
huge,
awesome.
huge,
That is a
Yep,
huge.
big
there we
deal.
go.
Thanks, Allie.
Yep,
Yes,
okay.
I am so glad that you came back up, and I'm so glad that we were able to
Yeah,
get that, nailed down here in our
yep,
space, a very historic
yep.
moment. So,
I'll put it
again,
in the
thank
side
you.
That's how
table.
you break
Yeah,
news. That is newsworthy. That's how you break
yeah.
news. Thank you, Allie.
Exactly. Take note, Ari. That is hilarious, Danny. Oh, wonderful news. So, wow. I'm going to be dancing on the ceiling about that. That is a huge, huge deal. So I can't wait to go look at more um, NATO news. And let's see if mainstream media here, pivots and talks about that, or if they just continue with sneakers and grandchildren. Like, so Soul Sister, give us some of your closing thoughts today.
Yeah, thank you so much. I spent part of this morning and during the space I was searching for an article, and I don't think I found the exact one that I saw, and I read a few lines of over the weekend, but it was about the extremism of MAGA, and how it is contagious. And if I could remember the publication, I could probably find it. But I was able to find something in reference to why no one was reporting on, or mainstream media wasn't really reporting on the MAGA extremists that went after our forever President Barack Obama. So I did post that one, um, which has a somewhat of a similar take. Also, I agree. Bernadette had made a comment, and Danny agreed with it as well, that it is prejudice reporting, and I agree with that. I do know that there are times when the media wants access to people, so they allow them to say, you can't ask me questions about this, you can't. And that is not to give the media an out. That is to say that they allow them. Whereas I don't even believe that, um, the our Democratic Party would put such stops on any question that they might find that they don't want to they don't want to speak publicly about, or that might be controversial. I think that they're just prepared for it, whereas the other ones are getting a pass, and it is wrong. But that is the way that it has been for many moons, and it's a shame. And I just hate that. But I just wanted to put that out there, that I do believe that part of why they don't get those questions and they get the little fluff pieces is because that is what they have demanded in order to get access to those people. And it's a shame that's been allowed. Hold on. I'm sorry, sorry, my son just came in from work. Um, anyway, I do want to say that I enjoy the opportunities when I can just listen and learn from this space and the people who contribute to this space, because I think that is important. And I always enjoy when Danny comes up and gives us a really good take on the Fourth Estate, when Joseph is talking about the local politics and issues that are important to him, when Mickey gives us something that we might not even be thinking about, like the environmental, and when Allie gives us the geopolitical view. It is really important that we do take those opportunities to listen and learn from one another. But what I think I found most endearing is listening today to Miss Francis, Mama Donna's mother. And I haven't finished the entire interview, but um, it makes me cherish and appreciate the wisdom and the experience of our elders, because no, it makes me realize that whatever I think my struggles are for today, these are the pioneers who first endured something so much greater, and they're still here and thriving, and they don't sound hopeless and beat down. And I think that gives me, it strengthens me. So I appreciate, Dee, when you offer us those opportunities and those glimpses into the lives of people who are truly out here making a difference, and who have overcome battles and challenges that many of us have never experienced on a firsthand basis. So um, I just want to say that, as always, I'm grateful for this space, and I'm grateful to be part of this community, and part of the space in general. So I hope you all have a great week. Thank you.
Well, thank you so much, Soul Sister. And I thank you for the articles and information that you have shared and brought to the conversation today. And I'm really grateful and thankful to you being such a fabulous co-host and contributing in the way that you do with me here every week. I learn so many things from you, and I'm able to bounce a lot of things off of you and get, good, solid, honest feedback. And it is so important. And it is important to have, like I have the people who come in and share and contribute, but running this space is not easy, regardless of what people think. In order to run one the way that I would like to, to be productive. So I appreciate having someone that is doing it here with me, who helps to make it easier. It really, really makes a difference, and it matters. And I just want to, take an opportunity to thank you and tell you how much I appreciate that and how important it is to me. And I want to thank all of you who have come in and shared some wonderful information and articles and things with us. If you have not been able to hear the whole conversation today, I would encourage you to go back and listen to it, share it with other people. There was some great contributions. There's some great information that has been placed in the nest and the jumbotron that I think you can all learned from. And Allie brought us some great breaking news. I think that's fantastic news about Turkey, allowing Sweden to join NATO. And for a long time, NATO was just kind of an organization that kind of was created a long time ago. I don't think some people really felt like it was even needed anymore. And now look, it is really because of that organization, uh, the unified support that they have been able to garner and exercise. Has really, I think, kept Russia in check and kept Ukraine able to continue in this fight for their democracy. So again, thank you all for being here, and I wish you all a fabulous week ahead. Encourage you all to. Pay attention to the news that is being reported, and that is not trending, but that is important to our democracy, to share and amplify those stories with one another here in the community, so that we can all be informed, because we are better citizens when we are informed citizens. And that's what we do here. And I appreciate each and every one of you, because as we know, Danny so eloquently pointed out to us today, many of the failings of our journalism here. I look at all of us as somewhat citizen journalists. We kind of do our own reporting, we do our own snooping, and we find those who are also doing the good reporting. So I think it's important for us to continue to do that. And, Carrie talked to you about trying to take advantage of bargains that some of these legacy papers are sharing, because we do know that part of the obstacle to us receiving good journalism is that the important stuff tends to be behind a paywall. And the cheap and inconsequential stuff is free. And we have to kind of change that, or get them to mix it up. We have to change that narrative, because again, as Danny pointed out, were not journalism important to the survival and the healthy maintenance of our democracy, it would not have been included in our Constitution. It's important. So you guys stay woke, keep doing the great job that you're doing. Don't get discouraged. Sometimes we may need to soak vent a little bit, take a break. Self-care, of course, first and foremost. Do what you need to do, because this fight is not a sprint. It's a marathon. And in fact, it's the kind of marathon that even when we leave here, it will not be finished. We will need to be passing the baton off to others. It is a continual effort and work for us as citizens to maintain our democracy. So it's inherent, that we teach that next generation ways. We fight and gain some rights for them, and also set an example of how to fight, what to do, because inevitably, like we are now, there was another generation before me, like John Lewis and some others, who fought for me to be able to go to school with, white and black kids. But now they are changing some of the things that are available to kids in school. They are, basically creating school to prison pipelines, and black and brown kids are a big part of that target. They're privatizing schools, so we have a different fight, but it's been really just kind of the continuing fight. So all I'm saying is, thank you for being here. Thank you for continuing to be engaged and informed, and, just encouraging you to continue and know that you're not alone. We're all in this together. And I believe that we will succeed, and that, what that success looks like will change over time, because I feel like our democracy is it's a living, experiment. So it should change. It should keep getting better. And I know that all of you are of the mind to do the work to help ensure that, because we all prosper and do better when we're living in a a fully functioning, healthy, thriving democracy. And I want to leave you with the words from the late, great Representative John Lewis. And no matter what is happening, what news is breaking, I look to these words to keep me hopeful. And I hope they do the same for you. And they are. Do not get lost in a sea of despair. Be hopeful, be optimistic. Our struggle is not the struggle of a day, a week, a month, or a year. It is the struggle of a lifetime. Never ever be afraid to make some noise and get in good trouble, necessary trouble. So I just want to thank you guys for coming here, getting in good trouble with Soul Sister and I today, making a lot of noise, and encourage you to keep it up. I know you will. And we'll see you back here next week at the same time for some more good trouble. So peace and blessings. Wishing you all a wonderful day and week ahead.